time is now.
You are listening to NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army. Live daily on the website, on YouTube, and on every online radio directory. NUFC Talk, the voice of the Toon Army.
Well, good evening. Welcome one and all to NUFC Talk with myself, Boki, Tina Tooney. And unfortunately, we haven't got the mighty win, but by God, we've got two great substitutions. And I bet these players can do a lot better than our substitutions. Ian and DX, welcome on board with the early show, lads. Lovely to have you with us. Kenny W is in with it straight away, saying that I bet we're going to be talking all about the Villa. Well, yes and no. And to be fair, the less we can talk about what happened yesterday, the better. But we will get into some information, I suppose, and you can call it whether it's talking or egging the pudding. We'll see. But welcome all that's watching across all the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Don't forget, people out there in viewerland, hit that like button for us. It certainly helps us as a channel to get forward. Subscribe, hit the bell. It's all totally free. We're always live, never edited, and you will always get that 30-minute warning if you hit the bell. Memberships, obviously now it's $4.99 for the NTTV Plus. That'll get you all behind-the-scenes access. If you've got a question to anybody in the panel, then throw a Q in front of it. Ain't guaranteed. So we'll do our best to try and highlight as many as we can through the hour and a half that you're with us before the late show starts. And we'll go with that. But if you can't, like I say, if we don't, and you do want to talk about something, and it really was something that you want to get off your chest, then throw us the NTTV Super Chats, follow the dollar signs, and follow the instructions, and that will guarantee your message read out. Any members that become during the show, or any of our lovely members that gift them, will also be highlighted and thanked. Interesting 24 hours. There's lots of conversations going on about what happened, what is happening, and where we're going to go. And before I introduce tonight's show and get you guys to have your little bit of say, I'm going to start with my usual. NUFC Talk is the only place on YouTube where we dissect Newcastle United strategy with the surgical precision of a blind squirrel finding a nut. Under Eddie Howe, we've reached a glorious crossroads in the project. It's that thrilling moment where you wonder if they're finally challenged for the top four or just settle for the comfortable mid-table. It's an expensively assembled mid-table team, if I ask you. It's in Newcastle's history. For me, I think it's probably the most expensive team we've got at the minute. And then there's the substitutions. Oh, the substitutions. Striker for striker, winger for winger, midfielder for midfielder. Every week, like changing the batteries in the remote and wondering why the telly's still showing the same programme. It's a masterclass in maintaining the exact same level of performance and expecting a different result. They are in definition of making a change without actually changing anything. It's a stroke of genius, if you ask me. So there you go. There's my little ditty to start the show. Welcome one and all. How are we? I can see my mate DX is stroking the pussy on his lap. So
on my lap every time I'm here. I can't...
exactly. And I suppose you and Tina Tooney will be having conversations about all pussycat related stuff.
I've got a cat right here as well.
Great show from Ian. So anybody that is a member, obviously Ian and Michael have done the player ratings, and wow, it is a player rating and a half, with some of our players not really hitting the high marks. Have we all recovered from yesterday's debacle? I'm hoping we have. I mean, the thumbnail, which obviously Chris wants the lads at in the latest show, if you like, wants to concentrate on the 2-game-a-week situation. But I thought we'd go with something on the same cards, but slightly different, if you follow my drift. It is a bit of a strange one, the way we are now. I mean, 4-3-3 still work without changing shape. Does it still work without changing shape? We've heard that Eddie Howe says a lot of the time, his 4-3-3 isn't a 4-3-3. It only looks like a 4-3-3 on paper and the setup. But because it's fluid, sometimes it transitions to a 4-5-1, a 4-2-4. there's so many variations to the same thing. My problem is it doesn't seem to matter what player comes into that system, it doesn't change. We've talked about effort. We've talked about injuries impacting the way the squad perform. It can't just all be about Bruno missing. That gives us that extra spark. I thought Toon Army was very unlucky at the start of the game. First 40 seconds. If that gets past Martinez, does it change the game? Or are we just talking about Villa being that good? Which they were, if I'm honest with you. They nullified everything that we could throw at them. And once we'd nullified, it was only going to be a matter of time before a chance is created the other end, which, by the way, they took very well. So if I go round the table with you guys, are you now just seeing what we've all been screaming about for the last maybe 2 years about this 4-3-3, no plan B, still going to put player like player on and off the field of play? And according to what Eddie Howe said, we were unlucky. How did you see it?
What are you starting?
I certainly didn't think we were unlucky. I certainly didn't think we were unlucky. I think Villa came with a game plan, and we couldn't, as you said, we couldn't change the way we were playing to come across that game plan or to nullify what they were doing. It was also our performance. It's just so frustrating because, as you say, it's been going on for a couple of years now. We can all go around the same points with Eddie Howe, but he's not going to change. I think this season now is looking like a cup type season, isn't it? Where potentially the league's not going to be brilliant. If you look at the fixtures we've got coming up, especially the FA Cup is a bit of a worry with Aston Villa because they've just beat it anyway. We're obviously behind with Man City. As I said yesterday, there's a chance our season can kamikaze downhill from the end of February.
Yeah,
give a slightly opposing view to that, Bofi, if you like. Mm-hmm. I think that in answer to your question, Gary, if Toon Army's shot goes in the first minute, we might have a game very much like last year's, which we ended up winning 3-0, because I think that completely changes the complexion of that first half. Complexion of the first half.
Yeah.
Villa were better, but then in Morgan Rogers, they've got a better player than we had on the pitch. Let's be honest. In Ollie Watkins, they've got a better forward than we had on the pitch. I think of Voltemada and Wissa replacing Isak is a bit like me and DX trying to replace Win tonight. You know, we'll do our best.
They didn't improve the squad. What do you mean?
Love it.
They had one or two better players, and that was the edge. I thought it. I mean, I was there and I watched the game. Hopeful's an equaliser right the way through to the 88th minute. And we came close once or twice. Martinez made a couple of really good saves in the first half. Toon Army's and the Miley header was a really good save. I thought we did the player ratings. I thought through to the forward line, we did all right. We were pretty good. I thought Miley stepped into Bruno's big boots pretty well. It's just that forward line is so toothless. And you're absolutely right. It needed an adjustment from the battering ram we were trying to get through with to somebody who could unpick a lock. And we never even thought about trying it. That's what Villa knew we would do that. They knew we would do that. It was almost like they knew how we were going to play all the way through that game. That's what's frustrating. I am, week by week, having listened to Boki in particular over the last month, something to think that Howe doesn't know how to change it. And he needs to, because the rest of the league has worked out how we play. And we don't have that number 10 who can unpick the lock for us.
And I think it goes even deeper in where we've got, we're still playing as if we've got Isak in the team with those forwards. So we're still playing the same way with the same system and all of this to players who don't suit it. So you bring Voltemada-shaped players in Isak-shaped holes, and it's not working. And with regards to Villa, you know, they've got a better goalkeeper. If you look at key positions, better goalkeeper. Onana outplayed Joe Linton, who played him off the park, really, and literally off the park. Watkins outplayed our forwards, either of the forwards that we used. Rogers was the best creative player on the pitch. So every key player, although the stats will show the game was close, a lot of our shots were kind of blocked or they were on the edge of the area. They were just was sort of nothing really. I mean, yes, Martinez made one incredible save and one very good save, but that's what top goalkeepers do. And fair play, you can't really knock them for that.
Yeah, me and Boki did the commentary, and I'm going to come to Christina in a second. I was just going to ask you guys. Toon Army did really well to skip through those bodies of players. Unfortunately, coming onto his left foot. Not saying that hindered Toon Army at all, but as it was falling to Wissa on his right foot, would it have been Wissa's to hit, or do you think Toon Army done enough for himself to take the onus?
Well, Michael pointed that out because he was watching it. I haven't seen it back yet, and I didn't even notice Wissa was there. I just wanted Toon Army to finish it. But he said Wissa was coming onto it with his right foot to curl it in the opposite corner to the way that Martinez was diving.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have gone in if he'd seen him, but then is Toon Army really looking to lay a ball off after he's beaten three players and the D on the edge of the box? He wants a shot, doesn't he?
No, I think he had to take the shot, really. He did all the hard work, really, and then it was just that finish. I mean, it was big goalkeeper, spread himself well, just hit him on the foot. If he got it 2 inches to the right, it goes into the net. And like you say, we could be sitting here going waxing lyrical about a victory, but that's how fine the margins are in football, I think, is against good teams, you have to take the chances.
We'll have to
Christina.
Be careful
sorry, Boki.
I was just going to quickly say, I think we have to be careful as well, because we've been saying with Toon Army for weeks now, we want him to start taking shots on.
I was about to say exactly that.
To call him out, it's sort of, you've just got to be careful.
No, it's not about calling out. It's about taking, it's like I said, you've got to play who we know he's got a good left foot, but it's not his natural foot to strike a ball. And it looked to me as though maybe he was slightly just overstretching, you know what I mean? And I think if he was onto that ball correctly, because when he cut that ball back to get past Torres, it just went probably that extra yard that he wanted it to go, where he'd be in control of the ball. So for me, it was more the fact that he was running towards Wissa and he had to stretch to get that ball whipped back. And I mean, he cut it back towards Martinez superbly well. I'm never going to deny him that. And like you said, he'd beaten Martinez all ends up regarding direction. It was just literally more by luck, I think, than judgment that it comes off his feet. But you've got to give credit where credit's due. And that's what a keeper's there for. So go on then, Christina. Go on, mate.
Sorry, I thought Ian was going to say.
All I was going to say was, do you remember 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, when we beat Chelsea 1-0, you had Almiron coming in from the right, dancing past 2 or 3 players, and Willock
run onto it,
almost pushed him off the ball to take it on his right foot and score the winner. So that's what Wissa should have done. But if Wissa is at the first minute of the game, probably on his heels watching it and admiring it and not able to move fast enough to get in for Toon Army to then take the shot.
Yeah, Wissa was static, I must admit. He wasn't actually on his toes, like you say, in readiness for that ball anyway. Go on, Christina.
Yeah, just like in regards to that part, I think Toon Army made the right decision taking the shot. He sent Martinez the wrong way, and it was a lucky save with his foot. So I definitely don't. I think if Toon Army passed that ball, everybody would have been screaming, "Why didn't he have a shot?" So I think he's made the right decision just to stop people from shouting that. The game itself, disappointing result against a good side, is all I can really say about that. People are going to mention the possession that we had in the middle of the game where, we maybe didn't manage to get through, but Aston Villa defended extremely well in that game. They took a good chance early on. Our longer range shots both got blocked. Barnes is coming a little bit closer. Joe Linton's not making it further than like half a foot, but at least the chances were there. And I think we were really creative. Not like really creative, but I think we did create chances. It wasn't like it was completely static. There was, if Wissa had a half a yard pace more or was a bit more stronger in his conviction, the pass through from Ramsey, that could have resulted in a goal, and I think their second goal was a massive sucker punch. The only thing I was really disappointed with in that game was their second goal. We had like overall we had about 6 players in the box when they sent that cross in, 3 players in the centre next to the penalty spot, and 2 Aston Villa players managed to get some space behind our defenders on the back post, so that they had like a 2-shot chance of getting a goal from that, and Nick Pope's not going to be saving anything from that type of range. Positives in the game was when Ramsey came on, I thought he looked really good. He's starting to show a bit more of a glimpse of the player that we've signed, and Elanga looked a lot more sure-footed about himself than he has recently as well. I think he's had 3 good appearances on the trot now, where it's starting to look like maybe he's getting a little bit of self-assuredness. But yeah, we would definitely, I think if one game has shown more than any that what we've all been shouting about, play Gordon on the right and play Barnes on the left, I think that's the game that's really shown that. Gordon has a fantastic cross on his right foot, not such a good cross on his left foot, but he can beat a man, and he did beat his defender a couple of times yesterday. And then he's having a cut back, and he's putting in good crosses. And I think even if you look at like Miley's header, there wasn't a lot of pace on it. It was a good header. And I know that in modern day football, you've got that whole like in swinging corner mentality. If the ball's in swinging, all you got to do is get a glancing header on it. But I think balls in from the right, from a right-footed player, you can get a little bit more purchase on a header. And I think if that had hit Miley a little bit harder, again, we might be sitting here having a bit of a different conversation.
Interesting. Connor's just thrown one. I hadn't seen that one. Apparently, according to the Geordie's journos, if Fixture had have got in touch or got made contact with the Tonali dribble, he would have been probably in an offside position. So
Very possible.
I have just had a quick look, and as you can see here, he takes it past. And I apologise for the play button being in the wrong place. And obviously, I have to be very careful because of copyright. So he beats Torres here, and you've got Konsa coming in off the angle. So I just wanted to see. So around about there, and I must admit, it's tight, but he probably is slightly in a offside position. But it's tight because Konsa is in line with him. So if he had have took that strike on, and you can see the position of Martinez on that. I mean, he does fill the goal. Again, it's the ideal position for a goalkeeper to be in, and you can see how he's trying to fill as much of that goal possible. But it like I say, for me, what he's also telling the player with the ball is which way he's going to dive. You can see he's completely outstretched with his left foot, ready to pounce to that left, to his right, if you like. So, like I said, I mean, I still think Wissa should have had the kahunas to shout, I'll strike this one, because it is coming onto his natural position. And exactly what you've just said there. It was like, for me, the ideal opportunity potentially missed when we got to it. But like I say, whether he was offside or not, it's all ifs, buts and maybes, because it didn't happen. The one thing I was really interested on X, I don't know, again, whether you guys have seen this. Does anybody know what this is? Don't say it. It's the Premier League table.
Took my joke off it before I even made it. Darn it.
This is us in the 22-23 season in the Champions League. Same amount of games played, same points, in 9th position. Isn't that weird? So the question is, and this is where we are now.
We didn't qualify for Europe.
So no, wasn't it 22-23 we were in Champions League?
Yeah, but that league campaign ended with us in 6th and Man U in
7th, wasn't it?
Yeah, but this is after 23 games.
Oh, so we had the same after that, and then we came 7th.
Right. Yeah, so this is 23 games. This is 23 games, same point, same place, playing in the Champions League.
That's weird.
Isn't that uncanny?
Yeah.
Gary,
whoever's done
is part of that down to as well. I mean, if you look at the run of games we've got coming up, we haven't played any big teams really away from home, apart from Man United. If you still class Man United as a big team, But apart from that, we've not played anybody really big away from home yet as yet.
And we're so dependent on the home form, aren't we? And that's why yesterday for me was a big loss, because these home games are now they're like gold dust. We've only got seven left, something like that. So we're going to have to start picking up 3 points at home on a regular basis, because I don't think we're going to get that many away. We've got Arsenal away, Man City away, Liverpool away, Chelsea away. Ugh, it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's just whacked in probably a wax lyrical there, because he says the differences between then and now is how many injuries did we have back then? Yeah. So you had actually got something to blame. What are you blaming now? What are we looking at now to say where the drop off is? Because, like I say, apart from having 2 players in key positions, in that back 4, is there much difference?
Well, we don't have Isak, do we? I guess.
Well, that's the only thing, isn't it?
So we don't have
to jump in with a super chat there, Gary.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. Confidence in our conviction. We need some cool swag. Thank you very much, Warren.
No, I think with not just Isak, so we don't know. I keep saying his name, which I know I'm not supposed to really. But we've always had these kind of inspirational strikers like Demba Ba or Cisse or Martins or Ferdinand Shearer, whoever, Andy Cole, Peter Beardsley. They could always score goals out of nothing, and I'm not sure either of these two that we've got at the moment can really. So you have to change things. It has to be the right service. So the example I would think of is when Alan Shearer's legs kind of started to go a bit. So Bobby Robson was the manager, and he changed the team. He brought Bellamy in instead of Ferguson or whoever we had up front, and he had Dyer in midfield, and he brought Robert into the club. So you had all these quick players around this great finisher who wasn't quick anymore, and just built a team that worked with that player. And I think we're going to have to start doing that, because Baltimore has no pace. So all this playing the press, doing this, doing that, it's not going to work. So we're going to have to adapt and do something different. And I think when Baltimore plays, it sounds a bit mad, but I think Alanga's going to have to play to compensate, because he's so fast. You can kind of dovetail them a little bit, and maybe that'll work better. But I think we're always a bit slow at doing this. If I don't know that much about football really compared to Eddie Howe, but I can see that, and he must be able to see it.
Yeah, I mean,
how come we haven't found a way to play with Voltemada? Because I mean, he scored early on despite the way we were set up. He scored headers, which he's not supposed to be in for. So how can we get through to have played 23 games in the league and all the cup games, and still not really know how to play Voltemada? He still looks like a fish out of water to me.
He does.
He's hoping that something breaks to him, and that isn't really what your £70 million striker's meant to do.
When we brought
him, a £70 million striker,
as you say, we spent £70 million on him. We must have done some research on him, surely, and realised what type of striker he was. So that there should have been fourth. I know we're in a difficult position, but there must have been some thoughts in the heads that they could work with this lad and get him to play either him to play the way we want him to play, or for him to adapt our game.
I think.
Sorry for us to adapt our game, but that's not happened with him. He's just been put up there, it just seems like, and nothing changes around him, as you say. We just play the same football as we were trying with Isak, but we've got Baltimore up there who is a different type of player.
I mean, I personally, in regards to Walter Maida, I think, first of all, it's complete cap that people are saying, oh, Walter Maida can't score headers. He's scored headers in his career. I don't know where people are getting that from. Secondly, I think we are trying to play a little bit too direct with him. I think I don't think that we are trying to play the Isak style with the wrong player. I think the problem is that the style of player that he is, right? He's got a great touch. He's very good at taking a player on. In the Premier League, big tough defenders are going to kick you before you get a chance to do anything of that. And I think it's been a bit of a shock to the system for Walter Maida what the defending's like in the Premier League. And he, once people started to realise, okay, he's a bit of a danger, he is always getting quite closely marked. And I think it's taking him a little bit of time to adapt to the Premier League rather than us adapting to him. I think a lot of the time there is a lot of frustration that I hear from certain like commentators or fans who like are like, oh, Walter Mara, he's giving it away again, or Walter Mara, oh, why didn't he get through there? And I think it just came to a bit of a shock to him how fast the Premier League is, especially when it comes to the defensive side of it. But I don't think we're like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole with them or anything.
It's interesting, you see, because like I was watching the lads yesterday on the comparison, and as much as they were asking the same question, if you like, about not, changing the system, and according, to some of the, I can't remember whether it was Hutch or, I'm not sure who said it now, but the lad says it's not about changing the system; it's about changing the instruction. So what Eddie does, he goes like for like, but with different instructions for the players coming on to the field of play. Now, that's okay if you've got players that change, that can change the system. Have you got somebody that can do something different on the field of play? Now, when I looked at the start of the game, I wasn't too bothered of the players that were on there. They could all, for me, do a job if it clicks. And I think for me, the first 10 minutes for me seems to be where Newcastle, you're going to see where Newcastle are in that game. Because if they don't score in that first 10 minutes, that's it. They seem to just go further and further and further back. And for me, Unai Emery had it absolutely spot on. Go low, go tight in the middle, let them have the ball in front and out wide. None of them crosses really hurt them. Anything around the 6-yard box, Martinez had. Anything anywhere else, Konsa and Torres seemed to just pick up and head away under very little pressure. And the one thing that I saw where we were very good, sometimes we went on that Tonali, we went man to man, where we went on the high press. Like I said, right from the start, within the first 40 seconds, everybody went body to body. And what that meant was if we made a mistake at the back, now, again, think about where we were. Malik Chow was the wrong side of Rodgers. He gets his foot in the air, and if he hadn't have got that, it would have been Louis Hall versus 2 Villa players. That's the risk versus reward when it goes to man v man on the high press. So it was lucky at that point, but we then do go on without very much control, if I'm honest with you, on that first build-up until Tonali gets the ball, where all of a sudden you see that technical play, you see that person that's able just to hold the ball, take on a few players. This is supposedly our number 6 that is dancing through their backline as if they aren't there. That goes on to get a really great strike. So Eddie Howe was asked post-match about talking and potentially going on to see if we could, I think it was Craig Hope that asked about making obviously a light bid in the market for a player. And there's his words. There's no point in me thinking we need another type of player at this moment because it's not going to happen. The next chance we'll really have to change the squad will be in the summer. It's about getting the best out of the players we have now. So, I mean, it's not working. If he thinks that this giving them instructions to come onto the field of play to change something is working, he's seen a different game to me.
But yeah, do you think that he's had his hands tied a little bit though? And they're maybe saying to him, there's no more money there. We don't want you spending any more. So he's had to come out with a diplomatic response to try and cover his own arse a little bit.
Potentially. I mean, it's like everything, isn't it? You know, you've got to, if it ain't working, if something ain't working, how many times do you try the same thing before you say, you know what, I've done with this now, I'm going to put it to bed. In any other industry, if you were trying something the same way and you were failing, how do you think your CEO would take that? Do you think you'd still be in a job tomorrow in any other industry if you've had a few years to try the same tested? I don't think you would.
You wouldn't.
No, sorry, I was going to say, I've got a funny feeling we might change it for PSG. I think we'll play 5 at the back just to wedge Burn back into the team somehow, which maybe that's the way we go. We just play 5 at the back and try and hit them on the counter with no pace, but we'll see. I think Alanga. But I think that will be a change. But I think in general, we're just playing the same way, aren't we? 4-3-3, 90% of the time. So we do need a plan B. Definitely, it's too samey. It's getting predictable.
Yeah,
does some of these defenders not need a rest as well?
Yeah,
especially Hall's not long back from injury.
Yeah,
Trippier looks like he's running through treacle at times these days. Botman, we know Botman's got a glass jaw at times, and I read somewhere that how many games that lad's played in a row is frightening. Was it 20?
That's the problem is we don't have anybody to bring in.
I think Trippier as well. I just think this is a season too many for Trips, unfortunately. I think last season, in the run-in, he had that last run of decent performances, but those legs are just nothing. He's gone now. So I think it's sad to watch because he's been such an influential player. And
I think he's a valid squad player through to the end of the season, because if you use him for the last 20 minutes, for example, or the last half an hour, he would be excellent. It's just you're trying to squeeze 90 minutes out of him 3 times in a week. One of the things I'd take up on what Howe just said there is it's about using the players that you've got to get the best out of them. Well, I'm sorry to bang on, and I can hear Michael at home going, they're not good enough, Ian, but we've got Sahar, who's a right back, who's always on the bench. We've got Murphy, who's either a centre back or a left back, who's always on the bench, and they would relieve some of the pressure on 2 of our vulnerable players in Trippier and Hall. We've got some exciting young kids. Then they're mavericks. Osula, I know he's just come back. Maybe he was just on the bench to get used to match day again, but he could have come and done the last 10 minutes and been a real thorn in the side. I mean, he might not have done anything, but he did that against Liverpool and scored the equaliser in the second game of the season. Change it up. We've got to change it up. But my initial point was, he's not using all the players that we have in order to maximise what he can get out of his first team, because he's just playing the same 13 or 14 for the 90 minutes.
What did you think about yesterday's changes, though? Did that really impact the side? Because if you look, I've got the first squad on here right now. These are the lads that started the game, and obviously that. Oh, not that one. I beg your pardon. It's that one. These are the lads, obviously, that come on. So it was from the midfield. If you look at a square, obviously Willock went onto the right side, but Miley then had to come and sit in the middle of the two. Ramsey went onto the left-hand side. Barnes swept obviously with Alanga and Voltamada. So a lot of changes happened in and around that high section. So for me, all the left-hand side, because if you look at all the players that come off, were all left and centre. So did that unbalance us a little bit? So I had a little bit of a deep look into what was going on with the tactics of Eddie Howe, and did we mess something up? Now, what I am going to do, and again, I don't want to be boring everybody to death, because I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. The tactics and stuff, but I just thought it was an interesting point just to show this graph. This is our graph when it comes to our passing line. So for me, the one player that seemed to be isolated more than anybody else was Anthony Gordon down that left-hand side. Now, obviously, Matty Cash and Sancho, what is it? I keep saying Sancho, was playing it down that right-hand side. They were hugging the touchline, but that did limit Louis Saul getting over that halfway line a lot of the time. He wasn't really the Louis Saul that we have seen in the past, having that relationship down on that side. And the biggest thing that I noticed here was we were very high and dominant down the right-hand side. Now, whether Eddie Howe had seen Maatsen being an issue, as in where a player that we can get behind more than. Now, Harvey Barnes, we know, isn't, full of pace. He can utilise a give and a go. in and behind. So I appreciate that. But the other thing that was really strange for me was J7. Now, you see J7 centre circle here. Now, the one thing J7 never did yesterday against Aston Villa is get into this part of the field at all, throughout any part of the game. And I couldn't understand why he played the diagonal. So J7 was to protect Hall, and then obviously to come over onto the right-hand side. And maybe that was to maybe get an overload at times on what they were trying to block and dominate that part of the game. Just never seemed to work. It just was really strange for me to watch a team playing that way, isolate potentially the one player that can be pacey and get in behind. And the other thing I was going to ask you is, or do you think it was Eddie Howe thinking outside the box a little bit by trying to move their back line over to allow Anthony Gordon to get in behind? Because either didn't work.
Gary, I didn't see him do anything to change the game. To be fair, you've showed the passing lines there, which bear out what was seen in the game. I didn't actually see him do anything to change. And when Eddie says, I do have a plan B, it would change players around when we're on the pitch. You look at the passing lanes, they stay exactly the same.
Yeah, so there's J7. Doesn't go up into that left-hand side at all. Look.
It's obviously a tactic that Eddie's got, that this is the way he wants to play, and he just keeps playing it. And do you know what I think we've done tonight is we haven't called the players out, because some of them players let were down yesterday as well. You know, the Gordon wasn't great. Barnes, to be fair, wasn't brilliant. The midfield were poor.
Well, Miley, give Miley a pass. Give Miley a pass on that. I think he.
Do you know what? I don't think I would give Miley a pass on yesterday. I don't think anybody came out of that game shining. Anything shining.
Botman, Miley, Pope, and Elanga. I thought when he came on, he did well. Those four for me.
What did Elanga? You see that, Dick? What did Elanga actually do when he came on? What
chance did he set up? He did set up a chance. He put a ball in for a header that someone fluffed. But he also did get a couple of yellow cards off their players by just beating them, where they had to hack him down to stop him, basically, when he was going through. So he at least caused some panic in their back line, whereas I think our other wingers just... I mean, Gordon put in a couple of terrible crosses, and Barnes, like you say, Barnes never really got going. I think Elanga was the best winger, our best winger. And apart from Miley, when he went out wide, he put in a couple of good balls. But, yeah...
I must admit, though, mate, when I look back at, you were saying about giving the shout-outs and everything else, and, I agree. I didn't think Miley had a bad game at all. But the one thing for me that was a little bit on the embarrassing side was the build-up to their goal. And that it wasn't just Miley itself that was to blame with this one. Just trying to find where I need to be. Bear with me a second. Because the one thing that does come to mind, that in this pose here, he does look like Dracula. And again, I have to be careful of copyright. So for anybody that's just listening, what I'm doing now is just showing the build-up play. The one thing that was different from our side to their side yesterday was the forward line. And it wasn't just the forward line regarding a strike, as in a striker. It was how they led the forward line. There was a hell of a lot of unselfish movement from both Rodgers and also Watkins, Ollie Watkins up top. Buendia was marked down as to be their left-hand part of the three, if you like, with Sancho on the other side. So for me, what you got was Buendia went in and doubled up in the 10 slot. And that is where Newcastle just couldn't handle him. And if I just move this slightly on from this position here, I'm going to have to keep stopping and starting. And again, I apologise for the big plus button. But this is where it all starts for me, right? So they get in a second a ball that goes up at the top, and you can see here's the ball. So it's launched. Now, here you go. This is the first thing that I criticise. If you're going to go long, in football, you've got a challenge, right? And what you've got here is your three midfielders. So you've got Sandro here, J7, and Miley. There's the ball coming down, totally untested, right? So what you get now is, this is Rogers, Morgan Rogers. There's Buendia up in the top left-hand side. Again, everybody's run past him. Louis Hall's up here. So they're all thinking we're going to get something. We're going to try and find this second ball. Rogers sees the space to exploit, and he's going to come out onto this wide part. So again, uncontested header. And again, this to me is where you win and lose games. The midfield. And the midfield, in this instant, failed not just here, but they failed going further as well. So uncontested there. So this is your second ball, comes down. There's Trippier now coming into it. This is your attacking player coming to do the overload, if you like, and support that midfield. Runs into the space where he thinks he's going to create more of a problem. So if you see Buendia here, there's another part to this that you'll see. He brings it down, and straight away, he's looking up. Buendia is showing for him. He's goal side of your number 6, right? So Tonali is going to try and cut this ball out. He's seeing the opportunity, but he's the wrong side of the player. That's the other problem. Ball gets fed through because of this little movement here from Matt. Comes down now. Now, this is Ollie Watkins, right? So all of a sudden, you've got players now. Buendia is in front of Tonali. Miley's the wrong side because of one ball. It's contested because you're not in the right position. It could have fallen to a black and white shirt, but then again, it's an unorganised shape. And then obviously you've got J7 up on the centre circle here. And as you can see now, Buendia is virtually one-on-one with a run at Botman. Doesn't take it on board. He plays the ball centrally, but because the ball's behind him, he can't take it in front and attack. But again, he's got the thought of mindset to play the ball out of his feet, have a look to the left of him, and he throws a ball straight away over to that the right-hand side into Matty Cash. That ain't enough. Now, look at our shape now. That, to me, looks not bad. The worrying concern for me is the back line, right? So all of a sudden, you've got Malik Chow here that's been pulled out of position because of Ollie Watkins. You've got now Rogers. If the ball is fed quickly into this zone here, you can see Malik Chow. He's panicking because you can see Rogers in the clear. He's open. He's been dragged out of position by Watkins. Rogers is now his target. Trippier ain't interested. He ain't even looking at where the ball is. He's just saying, I'll have him. You carry on running, son. This shape here isn't a problem until this lot go to the 18-yard line. And that's where the problem starts. So they keep running back. Again, not a bad line. There's nothing wrong with that. And they've closed the space. This line here, not a bad line, close the space. But watch what happens now. They stop. Now, because of what's happened with the back line, you've got a lot of space at the top line. So we're not close enough. It's what we call ball to space time. Have you got enough time once that ball is played to you to close the man down? You haven't in this situation. So all of a sudden, it's going to come to Onana, and that's going to trigger J7. Now, as soon as J7 gets triggered, Tonali and Miley should also be triggered. You've got 3-on-4 on the back line, should not be a problem. These are the players that are going to play around you. So the ball comes into Onana, he takes a touch, J7's triggered, these two are static. And all of a sudden, this is your man. So Tonali should have been tight on him, on number 10, who obviously goes and gets the goal. And if Miley comes out to mate J7, he's also got Tielemans, who is the lad who plays the ball through to Rogers, who, again, it's all one-touch football from now on in, and then you go on and get the goal. So it's small little bits that creates the opening. And this is what I said. You don't have to be a fantastic footballer to become a world beater. It's a simple game, football, and sometimes we make it look so blooming hard because we go too deep on the defence, and that means that our midfielders, to keep it tight with those passes through the playing lanes, we then can't compete against their midfielders, and that's all the difference was in this match. And it's like I said, Tielemans picks it up, first touch, out of your feet, bang, and it was a great goal. And I'm not going to take that goal away from him because it was an outstanding finish. But that's what I said. You know, we talk about Marley having a good game, and he didn't have a bad game. But there were certain parts of that game I felt that the midfield could have and should have done better. But for me, the two players that really made it hard, and they did it again last year at Aston Villa, Watkins. You know, sometimes just his movement alone away from that middle section, unfortunately, where our forwards seem to want to hang around all day, which makes it so easy to defend. That's how you run a line.
And also, he can hold the ball up, can't he, so well. When they were knocking up these aimless kind of balls up to him, he could hold it up, he'd beat the guy and he'd lay it off. And that's, he just looks like he looks like exactly what we need, actually. But
absolutely, he does.
Yeah, he's just got a bit of everything, hasn't he? He's not a 10 out of 10 on anything, but he's a 7 out of 10 and an 8, and he can head it a bit, and he's got some pace. So yeah, he was excellent. I thought he was really good, Watkins, yesterday.
Yeah, movement causes you problems, and I've said, and that's what I said. When you look at what Wissa is giving us, he's given us that sharp runs in off the shoulder. But again, you know, in a tight space, you haven't got the ability, unless the pass is absolutely bang on. And yesterday, you've got to admit, as many crosses that we had, we just didn't seem to react very well in the box, or we had the right numbers in the box to compete for any of those crosses coming in. You want to do this one, mate? You're muted, Boker. You're muted.
Come on, Bobby.
Sorry. Shapes, yummy, triangles, square balls, and us circles.
There you go. I totally agree, mate.
Are you for the super chat, was that?
Listen, you know, I mean, I keep, you know, you. This is from a few games ago, and we talk about isolation, right? And isolation, this is against Aston Villa. There you go. That's how Newcastle dominate teams when it plays well. You're playing triangles. There's all your triangles drawn out for you. It looks great, but look how isolated you are up top. And you're only going to be good if you can get a couple of those midfielders coming in, as you can see here, that works in those lines, in tangent with your centre forward. And if he drops 10 yards deep and plays that second triangle, so again, if I just make an inroads, so your other triangle is off your point here. So there's your 4 triangles, if you like, going across the field of play. How that role should be played. Our problem is across this line here, sometimes left and right midfielder is too deep and then we're too wide. So this area here, there just isn't a player at all. Oh, where's that? Oh, I've just had a noise come in my head.
It was... What kind of noise? A voice?
I've got football going on in my head, and it's because I've got the football from the Newcastle game on. And I'm thinking, oh, the crowd's roaring in my ear. Everybody agrees with me.
What was the crowd like, Michael, yesterday? Did they stop booing it because there was rumours that they were booing at the end? Was that right? Or sorry, Ian?
At the match.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any booing. Elanga got another good reception when he came on. He was seeing the love. Gordon got his name chanted a few times. I can't remember what for. His haircut, probably. But, I mean, they were all right. Villa were good. The Villa crowd was good. But, of course, they were taking the piss in the last 10 minutes, which is really annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
But they deserved it. They were in control, weren't they? That was the whole point.
Absolutely.
We huffed and puffed.
They had a lot of housery as well, didn't they?
We did our running, but we didn't have anyone who could do anything with any guile.
No.
That's what we missed.
No, they had like Martinez and people who are masters of S-housery, aren't they? Because they we used to have that Burn and people like that all the time, and they've really. I thought yesterday they really had a lot of that. When we had a throw-in or something, they were sort of nudging, shouldering our player, and I noticed a lot of that going on, and they were just in our faces quite a lot. Martinez is.
I don't know if you saw, there was some. It wasn't ever going to go in. It was a bit looping, but Martinez caught a header and fell back against the post and went down. Even the referee went across and said, "You can't be hurt on that," and pulled him up.
I mean, he should be booking him. Or
should have booked him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For wasting time,
but at the same time, I mean, when we did that, we loved it. Like
we're missing that now, aren't we?
It's good when your team is the ones who are doing the dark arts, and I kind of wish we'd bring that back. And I think we do have the players who can do it. I don't know why we became such nice guys this season. And it's wholesome, but I don't think it gets us anywhere.
I think part of the problem is you can only bring the dark arts in if you're winning games.
Yeah, but it's changing now, mate, isn't it? The association, the Refs Association now is looking into keepers going down now, and what they're bringing in is the team captain has to pick up an outfield player. If physios come on the field of play for a keeper to go down now, well, that's what they're proposing, is the team captain then picks an outfield player, to go off for the 30 seconds rule.
Okay.
Wow.
That's what's being proposed. So what they're trying to do is abolish that, where Eddie Howe's done it, right? Wasn't a problem when Eddie Howe did it, when he asked, you could see he mouthed towards Lewis Hall, tell Popey to go down, and straight away Popey hits the floor. Then he gets all the players across because this so-called tactic isn't working. So he's trying to hammer some more tactics towards the team to get them fired up.
Can I just say that does prove that he does change things up? Like, people say that Eddie Howe is one-dimensional, but there's been about 3 or 4 times in this show alone where we've mentioned times that he's tried to change a tactic, and maybe it hasn't worked, but we are mentioning that he does try to change tactics. So I think that debunks the whole Eddie Howe's one-dimensional argument.
I think all he's doing is rearranging the chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah, but that's the thing,
why
isn't
not,
it? So,
why not when you've got Wissa and Baltimore, one of them on and one of them not on, we were losing the game against Villa, make the sub a little 10 minutes earlier, so make the sub at 55 minutes, but put the two of them on together.
So the reason for that, because I see a lot of people asking that, and we have only played Wissam and Baltimore once together, but the thing is, when you've got a tactical game plan based on a 3-person midfield, dropping one of those midfielders, and maybe like in the Manchester United game, we absolutely should have went with 2 attackers, but it's not as easy as, okay, so we're not winning this game, we should definitely put 2 attackers on. The players that we bring in the substitutions are very different and do offer us something different. Even Barnes going to the left, it changes what we are capable of doing as a team. And I think a lot of our tactics that we're coming up with defensively against teams are kind of depending on a 3-man midfield, and I think that's why he doesn't change it to a 2-person attack as quickly as a lot of our fans would like. And I don't get us wrong, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be good to be able to switch into a 2-attacking formation as easily as that, but I think there is, people aren't looking at the potential reasons why he doesn't.
Well, let's just look.
If you do that though, you do change to the 2 attackers. You are making a change. What changes he made this season in games where it's actually had a tactically good effect on?
It's very rare, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I understand what Christian has just said there, because this is what Simon was obviously talking about, and I wanted to have a bit of a deep dive into whether that actually shows anywhere. And the simple one is, if I again go back to one of the stills that I had on before, this is J7, right? So J7 comes out in the second half, and literally Ramsey comes on. Now look at the difference. So you can see here, J7 doesn't play any part in that left side corner whatsoever. So again, the instructions have been put across to Ramsey to change it up. This is before Barnes comes on, because this is the first change. So you can see quite evidently when I go on to this next card here and I put in just Ramsey, so I'll keep J7 on. Now look at the difference with Ramsey. You see what's dominated straight away? So The left-hand side, exactly. So I understand exactly what you guys are saying. I totally appreciate the fact that the in-game management is being changed up by players coming on, given a different instruction and a different role. That isn't the point for me, because when you're involved in a game like we were yesterday, where they'd already created a low block, they'd already created a situation where we aren't able to get in and behind, and even though we had the opportunity with the possession and everything else, we got the crosses into the box, we still hadn't got the bodies in the right areas to make it count. So unless you change the style of play, that effect that you're having on the players coming onto the field isn't affecting the game itself. And that's what yes, you can see them playing in a different in a different space of the field, but in actual fact, I don't think he had a shot at goal, Ramsey. I don't think he had a cross. You know what I mean? So, yes, his progression with the ball was good. I think he was 98 or 96, 98% passing accuracy. But like I said, if the passing's left to right and backwards, you're not affecting the game in any way.
Can I just bring one thing that he did do though? So he did put a fabulous through ball through for Johan Wissa at one point, and as I mentioned, if Wissa was like a yard faster or a slight bit stronger, or had just had the confidence to belt it with his left foot, that Ramsey very much could have had an assist, which would have very much changed the game. So I get what you're saying 100%, but there are certain things that graph doesn't show, which is that through ball, like, slightly stronger striker. Alan Shearer on the end of that through ball yesterday, and we've got a goal.
Well, Shearer wasn't quick, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. I totally get, and that was the through ball. Sorry, you can't see it now. I mean, it does show you on there the through ball, but it obviously doesn't show. Like I said, for me, if you look at the players
just to answer Kenny in the chat as well, we said did catch up to the ball. He did actually get onto the ball, but then it got stuck under his feet, and he didn't take the shot first time with his left. So it wasn't the pace of the ball or anything. He did get onto the ball.
Just didn't do anything when he got the ball.
But
no, I'm just saying
individual little game facts. Little individual in-game things that happened. Was there any point where you guys thought we were completely putting them under the cosh?
No.
So, that Aston Villa were worried about us at all?
No.
No, the more we had of the ball, the less we seemed to really cause them problems. That's the weird thing. When we had all that possession, it was like, did we have one clear-cut chance? And we say Vissa got it stuck under his feet. I can't remember one clear cut where you go, right, he's in now. Just those two in the first half, Tonali after 35 seconds and Miley after 20 minutes or whatever it was. And then after that, we just don't create much, do we? And a lot of it's just speculative or balls into the box heading, and then Joe Linton heading over the bar. Stuff like that it's nothing to get excited about.
No, right? I mean, I would 100% have accepted this in the analysis of the Wolves game. I think everything that I'm hearing like shot back against the creativity in the Wolves game is 100% accurate. Against Aston Villa, I think we need to give Aston Villa's defensive tactic and their defenders a bit of credit. I think they did actually defend really well against us, rather than us being a bit drib.
You're right, but for me, the one thing that I looked at, and I kept on thinking to myself, have they done this on purpose? And when the reasons why I say that, a lot of Aston Villa yesterday was long ball. It was over the top. Now, I look at that team and say, that Kamara missing and everything else. The lads have just had a big trip out to Turkey, coming back. Tielemans is back in the side. Onana's in the side. Is there room for error in that midfield? And for me, like I said, I don't think it was a team versus team problem. It was a manager versus manager problem for me. And I think Unai Emery realised Newcastle were going to come at them. And all he wanted to do was bypass that midfield where he probably realised we are going to dominate. He'd moved his left-hand player into the middle of the park to try and even the numbers up a little bit more. But he bypassed everybody. and he went long because he knew he'd got two players, especially with Ollie Watkins, that was willing to run into different corners and chase down every single ball. And, you know, for me, when you've got a player that comes on, Joe Litton for Ramsey, same role. Wisser for Walter-Marda, same role. Gordon for Elanga, same role. Tonali for Willock, same role, apart from one, Miley goes central and Willock comes out to the right-hand side. The formation is unchanged. So if the opposition manager has already nullified that, the game just stays unchanged. The outcome stays unchanged. So the challenge for me to you guys, if the opposition has already neutralised your shape, what are you expecting a fresh body to do differently in the same position?
I'd like to have seen a Sule. I don't know if he's fit, but I just feel like someone random like that might have just... They wouldn't have known what to do with him, I don't think. He's the kind of player who'd come on for 20 minutes and just they'd be like, what the hell's this? You know, one, he might bounce off him for a goal kick, and the next one, he does some amazing bit of skill. You just never know with him. He's an unpredictable player. So I think him being back will definitely be a massive benefit to the team, because now we can play potentially two up front and have someone on the bench who can come on. So it gives you another option, and he can also play on the right. So I'm not saying he's a great player, by the way, but he just gives us another alternative, let's say.
I like Asula.
I think he's good.
But the only thing that I worry about is that, as much as I see a drop-off of Walter-Marda, is, you know, if Asula now, and that's what I said, imagine how Asula felt. You know, he's worked his wealth back onto the bench. He's expecting to try and get match sharpness. You're 2-0 down. Well, I mean, 1-0 down at the time when I thought he should have entered the field of play. And that was with Walter-Marda, because I think with the two of them, and having Miley and perhaps Tonali sitting just in that deeper role, just go and play Walter-Marda in the slot and Asula off the shoulder. Not only does it give you, or it gives the opposition something else to think about, you're getting your players up to sharpness. You know, for me, yesterday was just like it's like changing your tyres, but refusing to turn the steering wheel. It was like, you know, you are doing exactly what Unai Emery wants you to do. You're not going to hurt me by what you've just done, because it's like for like.
Yeah. And do you think there's a point where there might be an argument for Asula to start a couple of games up front if these guys keep misfiring?
Well, the question is, though, buddy, it's the fact that if you're Asula, knowing full well that a German club's really interested in you, do you not start questioning, what am I doing here?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's shown flashes, hasn't he? Flashes of, like, against Liverpool, that he took that well. And, okay, it was Bradford, but in that game he looked good. I mean, there is something there, definitely, to work with. It's just, I'm just thinking, like, is there more potential with maybe giving him a little run of games at some point than just keep banging these other two strikers up if they don't turn a corner, which I hope they will, and start consistently performing.
Ian, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, well, I agree. I said an hour ago I would have liked to have seen Asula come on for the last 10, 15 minutes. But you're absolutely right. It's not going to get a lot of change if tactically 4-3-3 has already been diffused. You surely have to try something other than 4-3-3. And if Walter-Marda's not a 10, but he does play in a withdrawn role, then that would have been an ideal place to bring him on. Leave Wisser on a little bit longer. Move Gordon to centre forward, but change it round, change it up. Change it up.
You never know unless you buy a raffle ticket, do you? That's the way I look at it.
Super chat here, that's all
Carry
right.
on, mate, yeah.
Howe's recruitment is overrated. Apart from Bruno, I struggle to name a player £30 million plus who has had more than one good year, full season. Come at me, bros.
You can't.
I mean, Sandro Tonali.
Livramento.
How much did we pay for Lewis Hall? I mean, he's fantastic.
Harvey Barnes.
Yeah. I would say most of the players that Eddie Howe has bought have been fantastic for more than one season, to be honest.
I mean, he's been looking.
They've been fantastic in more than one season, but you're picking Harvey Barnes out, and he barely played in his first season.
Last
season was his second.
Alexander
Isak. His first season, did he? So I think what the point Tony's probably trying to put across is sort of who's been consistent throughout the time at Newcastle, and I think Tonali has, but the rest of them,
Bruno,
there's still questions about them. If it's not about form,
he was a cheap signing, wasn't he? 10 million. So
yeah, it's not. If it's not about the form, it's about the injury. Is that the pickup? So how many games are these? A lot of these lads missing. Hall, Tino.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Botman probably would have been the best defender in the Premier League by far by now, if not for the injuries that he's picked up.
Yeah, the Rolls Royce.
He has looked quite good the last couple of games. I thought he was one of the better players for us against Villa. He was all right.
Yeah. He's a fantastic player. He's like everything that Fabian Schär is at his best, but on the left-hand side of defence rather than the right-hand side. And he's probably more adept defensively. He can ping a ball. He's passing solid. I love Sven Botman. The fact that we've signed him down on a new contract, I could not be happier with that.
Yeah, left centre-back's quite strong, isn't it, really? Burn's not a bad backup option as well. So we're pretty good on that one position, that one specific position.
if it's just left centre back versus left centre back, forget about. Let's stop all this 11-a-side thing. Right? Let's just have left centre back versus left centre back. We will win a lot.
You just need to get the other 10 positions sorted, and then we're.
Oh yeah, we're all right then. As long as we get those 10 positions sorted, yeah, we'll be good. Thanks, Ron. I've got your prediction, mate. 2-0 to the Toon. Cheers, buddy. I'll throw that into the prediction league as we speak. 2-0.
Is that for the PSG game, is it?
That was for the PSG. He's going with a win, yeah.
Oh.
So 2 own goals.
Spicy.
Hey, we're a different animal in the
bank PSG.
Well, I've got a question actually for everyone.
I do think the better the team, the better chance we have. I fancy us to get City at Liverpool.
If we can only win one of these next 3 games, which one would you pick? Like, if we could win 2-0 in any of these 3 games, but we lose the other 2.
Ooh, that's the
win 2-0 at City and then beat them on penalties.
Is that what you go for? Well, we'd be in the final then, wouldn't we?
We were going to say that would be the final, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so that would be nice.
Back-to-back silverware, or at least, again, does that take your eyes away from other things though? Because we saw that,
Gary. It's a bloody Gary. It doesn't matter. They won a trophy last year. I'm nearly fucking retired and I can't remember them winning a trophy. So I'd like to see them do it again.
You'd like to see another one. You'd like to see something coming back.
I'll have to live till I'm about 120 if they take the long again.
Yeah, I'd say PSG, because if we win that one, then to get into that stage of the Champions League would be quite something. But I know we're not going to win it, so maybe it would be.
You don't know that. We might win it.
Tell you what, I looked at the team that played 2 years ago when we got a draw.
Yeah,
included Lascelles and Almiron.
Well, that's true.
So come on.
But Pope
also the team who were last year. They're not the team who were last year.
Now they've got rid of all the egos. They'll probably be better, mate, to be fair.
That's right. I'm being surprisingly cautious for my prediction against PSG because of how good a quality they are. So I don't think that we'll keep a clean sheet. So I think it's only going to be 5-1 to Newcastle when we play against PSG. So, even I'm being quite cautious for this game.
Well, the thing is, neither team, a draw doesn't serve either side, does it? So both teams are going to have to go for the win.
But you know what I would have loved is us to get that 4th goal, because that would have put us above goal difference, above them, because then it just chinks the armour a little bit. Because like you say, a draw with the amount of teams on the same points further down the table, if they come out with a result, it means we just get pushed further and further down. I mean, for me, I think the furthest, if you look at it, I mean, the lads were doing a good comparison last night about it. I think the worst we could ever finish is 13th, which still gives us the home advantage in the the second leg of the playoffs. So whichever way you look at it now, for me, Newcastle should be able to go into that game on Wednesday and relax. But we will obviously do a deeper dive on PSG tomorrow night when we do a little bit of a look at the 2 teams. So let's just flip it a little bit then. So talk about the subs, and again, I have been one, and maybe now I can probably start swallowing my tongue before I go any further. I was one that said this bench is probably as good a bench as I've seen regarding players. Unfortunately, it's a name rather than ability at this present moment in time, because I'm not seeing a game changer coming off the bench to play. Alanga had pace, but no platform. Walter Marder had almost no service, and what service he had, he couldn't hold on to the ball, didn't get a shot on target. Willett came on when the game had already been gone. So what was the point of that, apart from giving Tonali 5-minute breather? Did it matter? Ramsey didn't grab control of the midfield, even though his progression of the ball was really good. And like I say, for me, the one thing I've seen of Ramsey is, out of all of them that have been bought in the summer, apart from the Malik Chow, he seems to be the one that wants to grab the ball by the horns and work. He's already admitted when he realised Newcastle were interested, he realised before he even signed a contract with Newcastle that getting or breaking into this first team was going to be a problem. So he knew that and still signed. He knew he was going to be a bench player. But he said, every opportunity I get, and unfortunately he had that injury at Leeds, which knocked him back probably a month or so. Are we seeing Ramsey that could eventually maybe take on J7's role? Because for me, the one thing that you do get with Ramsey, and again, you talk about your passing in the 90% percentile for completion. For me, that's still good stats. Even though it was a negative outcome, that's still the type of midfielder that you want in the side.
I was more impressed by
robust than I thought as well.
Sorry,
in that game, I thought he looked a bit more robust than I had him down as. Probably because I was going to unfavourably compare him when replacing Joe Linton, but actually he stood up to that sort of physical challenge quite well as well. Fingers crossed it'll come through. I think they'll all come good. They're all good players. It's just they've got to find a way. We've got to find a way to play to their strengths. Chow, it's easy because he just comes to his centre half, so he can slot in straight away. We can see how good he is. Ramsey's kind of not got to do too much different, coming in and playing in midfield and being tough and progressing the ball. But we're miles off how to accommodate Alanga and Wissa and Voltemada in my book. And that's awful, because I think that is over £150 million that we have effectively not seeing any benefit of yet. Well, we can't go and buy anybody in this bloody window.
I want to see Alanga get a run of games now on the right, and just to see, because I think there's been flashes from the last few sub appearances of, okay, there's a little, it's not much, but there's green shoots of promise. I just think now is the time. There's no one grasping that right wing position. We tried Gordon there, we didn't really try Gordon there, but we tried Barnes there, and he's not so good on the right. So why don't we just give Alanga a few games? That's his position, right? Murphy's not fit. Okay, I think PSG is the perfect game for him. We're going to be on the counter. His pace will come into play. This is the match for him to really step up now.
See, even I could see from the touchline Alanga making the early run and using his pace to get into the space. Just nobody on the Newcastle side is ready for it. So many times in those 3 cameos in the last 3 games, Alanga has bombed up the right, and the ball's just somebody's turned back inside and put it back to Botman or something, rather than try a quick ball. They did try it against Villa, and Digne had to bring him down because he had the whole of their half to run into. Digne had to bring him down and got booked on the halfway line. So I definitely think, it might be the right game. These might be a right bunch of games coming up.
Yeah, counter-attack games.
City away, exactly. Where we're going to play on our transition. That's why I think it might suit our game better than right. A Wolves or a Villa at home.
But I'm like you guys. I think these lads just need to have a run out now. That they've been given the opportunity to get themselves sharp. We just need to really expose, like you say, the opposition coming our way are all intense forward thinking teams. So there is going to be the opportunity. My only concern is if we sit on the edge of our box, Eddie Howe's defensive tactics doesn't ever seem, the low block never seems as secure as the Wolves, as the Aston Villas, as the Manchester Uniteds that play against us.
True.
We never seem to be able to work it out. We look more frail than we do when we're attacking in a defensive low block. So for me, it's very tricky to think that all we're going to do is punt a ball over the top, and hopefully somebody's going to come on to the end of it. We've got 13 or so more minutes to go, and I probably want to finish a couple of questions. Me and Ian were talking the other day about the Bruno dependency, if you like. And again, we missing again yesterday seemed a massive hole in that midfield regarding who does what role. So is this proof that the system is too dependent on one player, or proof that the squad depth simply isn't good enough? What's your thoughts on that?
I think we are too dependent on one player because he's the only player in the central midfield who scores any goals, really, isn't he? Miley might do it, but he hasn't had a chance to really have a build-up of games to do it. So I think Bruno's got he got 9 goals or 8 goals this season or something like that?
8, isn't it?
And the next one is Tonali hasn't scored. Joe Linton's got a couple in the cups, 1 in the league maybe. So yeah, it drops off massively, and there's just nothing coming from that. So then when your strikers aren't scoring, you're almost saying to Harvey Barnes, go on, you're going to have to do it all on your own, mate.
But we heard Eddie Howe talk about players. Again, we're talking about Aston Villa coming your way. He's got to have done his homework. I mean, I know somebody's in the chat has said before, Emery had done his homework. He knew that Newcastle struggle against the low block. Hence, he put it in place. Didn't go and attack and isolate his back four. He made sure his 260 stayed close to them, and he allowed his wide players and his number 10 to dominate the space in front of the sixes and create that square. We don't seem to do that. We seem to either stretch the game or we have one go a little bit high. We never seem to work the area that sometimes can create that space for the likes of Hall and Trippier or whoever's playing right side to dominate down the sides. And for me, our fullbacks have been either excellent or they've been non-existent over games where we've just not really looked like breaking the opposition down. I'm like Ian. I don't think there's probably enough metrics as when you look at it's 9 games now that we haven't won with Bruno in the middle. It can't just be him, but he is the only lad in this squad that has scored from outside the box.
In regards to Bruno, I think a player of Bruno, because let's be honest, Bruno's magnificent. Like, he's a fantastic player. Everybody loves Bruno. Plus, he's the captain, and his passion really does make a difference to both the team and the fans. And again, the fans can lift the players. I think anytime you've got a player like Bruno missing, it would affect any team. I mean, look at Manchester City without Rodri. The drop-off that they suffered just from one player, and we know that they do have squad depth. Bruno's always going to be a miss. I think based on yesterday's performance, I don't think we're nothing without Bruno. Again, we have to remember Aston Villa are on exactly the same points this season as Manchester City, and whether Emery wants to admit it or not, you've got to kind of look at them in the title picture now, especially now that Arsenal are doing an Arsenal and getting that, dropping that bottle a little bit. They're always going to miss a player of that. We knew it was going to happen, let's be honest. You're always going to miss a player of Bruno's magnificence. But I think the midfield, especially with Ramsey, have started looking like we're not so dependent on Bruno now.
Yeah, I still think we are missing a trick with Tonali though, being the 6. I really do.
100%.
I think when you talk about having that technical ability, as you saw in the first 40 seconds, he has the ability to beat a player in the areas that nobody wants to get near or put a touch on you because of the risk of penalties and everything else. But for me, it's a case of Eddie Howe obviously wants somebody in that middle anchor role that's willing to run the hard yards, that's willing to get involved. But what you miss going forward as that centre pin, is phenomenal for me. And I think if nobody's winning, and again, was that the role that J7 took? Going from left to right on that diagonal, was he the one that was given the instruction to get into that half space to make it difficult for their sixes, Onana, to pick up, to try and move players around? I'm not sure, but whatever he did, not only did it affect us going forward, it isolated Gordon and it certainly isolated Hall, because they weren't involved in the game very much at all.
I've been crying out for legitimate number 6 all season. I've felt all year every bad performance that we've had, or any performance where we fell below par, having a number 6 and allowing Bruno and Tonali to push on, especially while Joe Linton was off form or while he had his injuries. I've said for ages that a legitimate number 6 is what this team needs. And not putting Tonali in. I mean, Tonali does great there, and he can put a tackle in. But I 100% think he would benefit massively if we had like a legitimate number 6, to where I was even asking for like Malik Chow or Fabian Schär to be given a chance at the number 6, just to let Tonali push forward.
Hasn't Schär played the 6 before?
Malik
I think Schär has played the 6 before.
Rafa played him at 6. And
he did, didn't he? He wasn't great.
No, but he's a better player now than he was in Rafa's days.
Yeah, well, I mean,
he's
like I said,
a crap midfielder.
Yeah.
I mean, try a different player in there, but there's definitely Tonali being pulled back to the number 6 is somewhat limiting what Tonali could give us.
Well, I agree. I'll tell you, going forward as well, I can't wait for Lewis Hall to get promoted into the midfield. He could be your midfield player. Well, he was started as a midfielder. He only got moved back to fullback to make his Chelsea debut.
Yeah, I agree. But then it might mean Dan Burn at left back is the only thing.
Yeah, we'd need to buy a left back before we start moving Lewis Hall.
I don't think we'll try him in the midfield.
I do agree with you, Ian.
I think that's where he's going to end up.
I think you're right, Ian, that his dribbling quality and everything, like he should be maybe further up the field because he could really impact the game more there for us. So I think you're right, yeah.
Murphy at left back, Hall in midfield. Come on, there's your number 10.
Give it a go. Okay. Well, we may as well at this point.
Look at Boaty looks horrified.
Do it in the league. The league's gone now. Just do anything. Experiment.
The league's so tight that I know we're still technically in there for the Europe thing. The other change that I really want to say is, because if there's a couple of comments that I saw earlier on in the chat, if I can just go back to them. I think it was Becca that said it first, and I think it was Tony who backed her up with that, which is that they're kind of saying now that with the lack of movement in the transfer window this January, they think that it's because at the end of the season the plan is for Eddie to be moved on. And in regards to that, if Eddie Howe's position is under question at the end of this season, I 100% think it's because of him supporting Anthony Gordon's push for a World Cup position on left midfield, as opposed to doing what's best for Newcastle. Sorry, and I know that was slightly off topic, but I've been trying to say that for the last half hour and I've not really got the chance to say it. But I think Gordon on the right and Barnes on the left, as well as having a number 6, that's the change that needs to happen. And I wanted to pick up on that just quickly, because I know we're running short of time. Sorry.
But if you're on that topic, it'll be interesting to see now Burns back, what happens. Because, like I say, Botman for me and Chow seem to be the partnership that is going to be blossoming and growing for time to come now. And yes, there's going to be rotation, but like I say, there's going to be knocks on doors. This is my last World Cup chance appearance type of thing. Come on, Gaffer, give me the nod type of situation. So it will be interesting on that scope along. If you're just isolating Gordon, Hall as well, I think Hall's got an amazing chance of being taken to the World Cup. Will Dan Burn?
So.
We don't want to run these guys into the ground.
Why is Borky moved away from us?
I don't know.
I feel like Burn should play start one out of every 3 games, and Botman should start 2 out of every 3, and then just rotate it like that.
Just rotate through.
Try and keep Botman fit. by not having him play every match.
So come on then, just before we finish, because like I say, the lads are winning.
I was just going to agree with DX and think.
No, go on, mate. Go on.
Three starting against PSG, 3 centre backs.
Yeah, I think we'll play 5 at the back against them, just because that's what we do away at these grounds a lot of the time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Right then, I'm going to go around the ring. This is the final question before we bring the light team on board. So I'm going to finish with a big one. Newcastle keep the 4-3-3, keep the same substitution patterns, and keep trusting the project. Short-term frustration with long-term payoff, or a tactical ceiling that better teams have already found out. What's your answer?
Start with Christian.
2 years we've been waiting for these tactics to start working. And we know we won the cup, fair enough. I'll take that. But in regards to
Champions League
but in regards to his in-game management, it's never improved. It's never got better. How long do you keep giving him?
Well, I think, like I say, you can keep going back in history, and that's fine. You're absolutely right. But we had a different strike force then. Yeah. I think what Eddie Howe was reliant on back then was the pace of the game, was the look of the draw, if you like, because there was many a time Isak got us out of problems. When nobody else was scoring, Isak was. And unfortunately, now Isak's gone, the goals seem to have dried up somewhat in the same formula. So, sometimes you do have to try something new to create another venture. When they're all scoring, like at PSV, it looks great. But when it's a dry well, you can't always get water out of it.
Yeah. Could you flip that, Gary, and say Eddie's never changed? Eddie's sort of not developed since Isak's left. So, he's still playing the same way as when we had Isak, who was a completely different striker, the two that we seem to have now.
Absolutely.
You can look at it through both sets of eyes.
He was telling us a fortnight before the end of that transfer window that Isak was staying, and he hoped that it could be all patched up.
Oh, absolutely.
So he didn't really plan for anything other than Isak coming back in. That's why we've got the panic buys.
I feel like we've got the wrong personnel, haven't we, for the 4-3-3 now? And I think it might work if Elanga can find his form, because that gives you something different. But with this Gordon on the left and Barnes on the right thing, and it's a bit of a mess, really. I don't think it kills the attack.
Do you think there's any truth then in the Elanga coming in was the softener to try and keep Isak?
No, I don't buy that. No, I don't think that was.
No,
I don't think so.
Why would Isak
stay for years, hadn't they?
Yeah, I don't think he'd stay to play with Elanga.
No, I'm not saying he would have stayed. I'm just saying
they're both friends, aren't they?
Yeah, I just thought he may have been. Again, it's what you heard. It's like, he's brought him in because he's countryman and everything else. He's good friends with him. You could see him and Isak and Willock having food, and Asula all having food together. So there was a nice group of them, all tight knitted, if you like. And I honestly believe if you listen to all of the gossip that was there at the end of last season, they knew this day was coming when Isak was going. For me, it was a case of, when do you pull the plug? I just think the 11th hour signing's never any good for any club if there isn't enough due diligence on them.
To be fair, though, we did try to bring in other players. Like Sesko was targeted. Ekitike was the player that we were chasing the most. And at the end of the transfer window, we did bring in 2 strikers. And people can say that they're the wrong strikers. Wissa hasn't found full fitness yet. He hasn't really started swinging yet. Walter Mara, he's just struggling to adapt. I don't think the recruitment's been that terrible. I just think that those players just aren't strong enough yet.
Well, all I'd say to that is that a lot of those were reactive bids. We were going in for Sesko because after Man United had put their bids in. We were going in for, I think, Pedro after Chelsea had started negotiations. Other players, Ekitike, we moved too late on Ekitike in that window. If we really wanted him, we should have gone in early. I know we didn't know that Isak was going to leave, but we could have had
exactly.
and Ekitike as the future replacement kind of thing.
It was bad, but at the same time, though, we lost our full recruitment team. Like, Eddie Howe was having to do that and handle the preparations for pre-season. I think, if anything, that's the biggest thing that we got wrong in the summer, was that we got rid of our entire the recruitment process. Like, all fell apart.
I know the other guys are going to come on now, but just quickly on that point, we're paid top-notch money because we're both Premier League players. Is the flip side of the coin on that. So these players were bought in so that they were ready to play in the Premier League. And apart from Chow, who wasn't actually in the Champions League, the Premier League, there's none of them look like they are ready yet.
Can I just finish on this
Forest and Brentford, though, Berkey, unfortunately.
Because the lads are waiting, and trust me, Michael's going to sack me if I keep him hanging on for too much longer. But Gaz has brought this one in here, and I think this is great. He didn't need tactics when he had an elite striker. High press with the ball, get it to Isak. If Isak didn't do what he did for us, Howe would have already been gone by now. Ooh. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, I suppose. But I mean, who knows?
Debatable.
It is. That's what I'm saying. It's hindsight's a wonderful thing. Anyway, it's time for
Gary. I haven't got access to the super chats. Boz has just put one in there.
Oh, right, there you go. Let me have a quick look at Wazzers then, buddy, and I will hand you over. There he goes. Tina Love, it when you say strike as proper Westerner. West Ender.
West End of Newcastle. I can't help it, sorry.
Did you do this one, Bokeh? You're all right, Bokeh. You're very quiet, didn't it? Nope, there you go.
I was trying to go through the chat.
He read that, then he moved away from me like I smelled or something.
There you go. The lads are all approaching the final furlong. I can see. I mean, even Michael's on the gallop.
Yeah, Roy's wearing a suit.
Yeah, Roy's wearing a suit. I think he's got a meeting with the solicitor.
The big guns are coming out tonight.
The big guns are out, indeed. Are you guys going to come on board, or you just want us to go? What you want to do, Michael? Because, like I say, if we bring you all in, and then we can say hello to you guys, and
that's
then we
a big
can jump
panel,
out.
isn't it?
That would have been a fantastic discussion.
Wow.
Obviously, Kev wants to keep his identity hidden, and I don't blame him.
Is mine
No, you are fuzzed out, mate.
Kev's plastic surgery must have gone wrong.
I think I've seen Kev actually on them Crime Watch videos.
Yes.
Always the guy with the pixelated face. I've been trying to find him for years. There he is, right there.
That's what you get
the whole time. And when she says something like that.
NUFC Talk has got on the radio, and there you go. Kev's got a face for radio.
Lovely stuff.
You know I love you. Lads, sorry for running over a little bit.
It's all right, no worries.
It's been an interesting chat with my panel. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Thank you ever so much, everybody out there that's thrown in the super chats on the early part of the show. Was Tony, and thank you so much for everybody on that one. Thank you, Tina, Bokeh, Ian, and DX. And welcome Michael, Roy, and Kev for the late entertainment.
It's going to get spicy, folks.
Greetings.
It is indeed. So, like I say, stay on board, everybody. Give these lovely boys some love, because, like I say, Michael's at the helm tonight, because obviously Chris is on the way home. So, like I say, have a good one, buddy. I'm sure you'll handle it well.
Have a good show, guys.
For now, folks.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Miss you. Yeah, miss you.
Miss you.
See you later, folks.
Take care.
See you all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. Okay, where's Gary gone? There he is. Right, all in there now. Kev, you are, moving about.
Are you doing it? Are you?
Yeah, I'll sort it, mate. Don't worry. See you later. Lovely stuff there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your late night show with me, Michael Grahamslaw, Bogey, Roy, and Kev. And as you can tell, there's a canny mix here of happy clappers and bedwetters. So this is going to be a very, very entertaining show. But before I get into it, I do just want to, lovely faces here joining me this evening. Before we switch over to the proper late night show, remember, subscribe, join NTTV Plus for $4.99, get your exclusive content and support the channel. And I say that because I'm on the exclusive content, so you get to see more of this face. But
that's not selling it, Michael. That's not selling it at all.
I'll get you on. It'll be a lot better then. Lovely stuff. So I listened before. We've already spoke about the game, so I'm not going to go into that as a topic. I'll go into what is actually on the thumbnail. Are Newcastle United capable of playing 2 times in 1 week consistently? Now, I've got a few little statistics about it, which I will get into, but I do want to just ask you guys first. It's one of those. Newcastle really struggled this season. We're almost exactly matching what we had 2 years ago, where we had exactly the same problem. So, Bogey, I'm going to start with you. Is the issue Newcastle's game time, or has the issue gone somewhere else?
I think we're all playing every week, 2-3 games every week, and it is difficult. But we knew that was going to be at the start of the season, and that's why we invested so heavily in the squad. We had players to rotate. And I think we're reaping a little bit of what we sowed from the start of the season by the times that we didn't rotate. We didn't, let players have a rest. And this is how we've ended up with injuries. And, there's a lot of reasons for what's going on. But for me, as I say, we spent a lot of money, so we should be able to manage 2 games a week. There's certainly no reason why not.
Yeah, to be honest, I completely agree. Roy, what do you think? I know you're a big advocate for Eddie moving on. Do you think the 2 games a week would harm a new manager as well, or do you think it's something that we should be handling a lot better?
Yeah, we should be handling it much better. We knew about this last season. We qualified the Champions League in May. We had 3 months to prepare for this. We didn't really, and then rotation, like Boki said, didn't happen. We went into the season with 1 left back. Dan Burns playing there. We even let Target leave. We had 2 on the right. 1 got injured. Now we're playing the other one. We had Ashby as well. He's not getting a game, and he's useless probably now anyway.
He's off to Bradford now.
Yeah, but at the same time, the rotation itself wasn't happening, and loads of games like you winning 4-1 against Everton, or even the Champions League game last week. Start taking them out, bring some of the kids in, rest your players, play around.
Yeah.
It's not happening, but yes, it's a bit, could be managed better, but you have to be in it to win it. We can't sit and do the Man U thing now. They've got 40 games this season. That's it. 1 cup, one in each cup, and they're going to have an easy life.
Yeah,
but
the
then
lowest
next season they're going to go through the same thing. So we'll have to do what City are doing, Arsenal are doing, Chelsea, even Spurs to a certain extent. They're doing worse than us in the league anyway.
Yeah, absolutely shocking how they've been doing under Thomas Frank, but he's obviously not the start. They've changed managers quite a lot. Big Ange has come in. I mean, I'll be honest, they need someone who can handle working with a smaller squad. They thought Frank was that man. He's not. But Kev, I just wanted to move on to you there. Sort of, obviously, you've got completely different thoughts to Roy on the old Eddie in, Eddie out debate. Do you think heavier schedule, couple of games a week, 3 and 8 days, 7 days sometimes, has been Eddie's undoing?
I've got different thoughts in terms of Eddie and Al, but I probably agree in terms of, we definitely could have rotated better. I think that's not really up for debate in terms of players who, I'm just going to sort my camera out. I'm going to have to go to a terrible cam, right? It'll take us 2 seconds because I don't know. It is what it is. All right, there we go. And you see me, at least it's a crap camera, but I'm here. No, I agree in terms of we rotated more, absolutely. I think Eddie probably should be criticised slightly for not rotating enough. I think that's a fair criticism. I'm not against criticism. I'm against maybe the whole out thing. But back to the question, yeah, we could have rotated better, but it's hindsight, isn't it? Like we could have played, or we could have kept Target and put him left back against Fulham at home and not won. We could have played Ramsey and Willock a lot more. I agree, and I would personally like to see that. But then again, we might not have. Not that we've got the amount of points we want in the league, but we could be sat there with even less because, again, I'm not a massive believer in terms of our squad players are quite there yet. I think, unfortunately, I don't know why, under Howe, it seems to take a bit of time for signings to settle in. Isaac, if you remember, in the first season, wasn't great, but we were very fortunate when Isaac struggled to adapt. But we had Wilson to fall back on, who had a great season. And I think it's almost been too many signings at once. So I kind of think the previous windows have maybe undone us a little bit, where we didn't sign a first-team player for 3 windows. Then trying to sign 6 who were going to come in and hopefully be trusted is maybe affected us a little bit. But yeah, we could have rotated more, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. We could have lost games. We could have won more. Who knows?
Yeah, to be honest.
Once me quickly there. You went round with 3. You were the only person that mentioned how out was Kev.
Michael mentioned it. He said Kev's on the opposite end of how out, which is true.
Excuses in early. Well, you're turning up the dark side, I've heard on the DL, but we'll leave that to now, and we'll see.
Never be on the dark side.
Never be on the dark side. But as I say, I mentioned I had a few stats. When Newcastle have played midweek this season, results on the weekend. So we've played the game in midweek. The results on the following weekend have been 5 wins, 4 draws, and 5 losses, which is an absolutely terrible win rate, about 33%. The record in 2022-23 was 9 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses. So already we've drawn more games and lost more games than what we did in that campaign. So that's kind of indicating that we haven't learned from the Champions League campaign. We've actually gotten worse from it, and that is something that I think is quite worrying. Do you see any signs, Bogey, of the mistakes we made in that campaign coming back to bite us, or do you think this is a whole new campaign, a whole new era of, let's be honest, it's the tactics now, while it was the fitness, etc. back then?
Is the question to be asked, is Eddie good enough to manage this many games in a season? Don't put the onus just on Eddie, or him and his coaching staff good enough? Do they have the experience of doing it? As you say, they've only ever done it one season. Do they need a little bit more experience on or do we need somebody with a little bit more experience on how to do it? Because at the minute we're just seeming to be so lackluster at times, like in games. And is it because we're playing too many games? And Eddie is quite stuck in his ways in regards to not rotating too much. And I've been an advocate for all the time of saying, you've got in a Champions League season, you watch the other big teams that all rotate. So it's a hard one.
Yeah, 100%. Just to pop up a comment there, I did have to refresh because I wasn't getting through the comments on the feed there. But we can't play 2 games a week. We have a small squad. Eddie Howe uses 18 out of 28 players, and we were playing in 3 cups. Small squad with an injury history. Do we agree with that as a whole? Do we think that, well, there's 2 things there. Eddie Howe doesn't use enough of the players that he can. So that's a rotation you mentioned there. But also the fact that we have a small squad. I kind of agree with the first point, but maybe not so much the second. Roy, what do you think?
I don't think our squad is that small. It's much bigger than it was a couple of years ago. But Eddie has to manage some games as well and drop them. That's what Pep did last week in the Champions League, and he rotated the team. They lost the game, but he's probably got priorities, and he knows he probably needs a win in the last one. So you can't go, like, for me personally, our next away semi-final against City, I would send the kids. Anyone with a half a niggle, send them. Real Madrid won't even go there and win 2-0 or 3-0 to get out of that. So Eddie needs to realise that game's gone. Rest your team. It's a blessing in disguise. That's a rest day. Send your second team there and just go for it. You just have to manage it. You can't risk it or just go and say, no, I'm going to pick Bruno for that game and Tonali, but I'm going to rest Gordon, this and that, and then mix it up. Don't mix it up. Either go full power, go crazy, or send the kids.
Yeah,
send the kids and a few of the ones who can't get a game, like Osula and Ramsey and Willock.
Yeah, give them a chance to show what they can do. Not going to give them a better stage to do so. I completely agree, to be honest.
And tell the fans as well before they go and spend their money and tickets and go there. You don't end up turning up in the stadium and thinking, no, Newcastle's going to turn up. Just make sure you tell the fans, I'm going to rotate and expect a second team.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It'd certainly be interesting as well to see the fan reaction to that. Kev, what do you think? Do you think we'll go to the Man City comment just before that. Do you think that's one where we can play the kids, or?
Personally, I'd like to see what Roy's saying, to be fair, just so we all get a bit of time off. However, there's a tiny bit inside of us that ever ridiculous positivity of, imagine if we go full strength and get a goal in the first 5 minutes. My mind would explode. Like, imagine if we do it. But it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely. And Roy's right, to be fair. Real Madrid could go there full strength and probably not turn around a 2-goal deficit. So I guess my head would probably agree with Roy, but my heart is like, oh, come on, man. Imagine if we do it. What a comeback. But look, I definitely agree Eddie could have rotated more. But I think about the 18 out of 28 players, we do have more players now, but I'm just not sure on the quality. I think years of the squad, and I'm not talking about Ashley here, I'm just talking about like the tiny bit in that weird instance when the new owners came in, but there's so many players now, a team. Like if you were to drop players for Premier League games like Bruno and kind of prioritise the Champions League because it's a higher level, elite level apparently, I don't know, is Willock good enough to play once every kind of 1 or 2 weeks to come in and win games away at Palace? I don't know. He might be. He might be. But then I don't know if I trust Willock, Ramsey, Murphy. I kind of trust a little bit more because we saw a very good season from him. But I don't know. I don't know if we actually have the squad to do it. I think Man City have an amazing squad. We have 3 teams: first team, second team, and then the kids team, which is going to finish top 10 anyway. We don't really have a kids team. Our second team is full of the players who were battling relegation before the new owners and Howe came in. And then we have our first team who's actually really good, but it's proven kind of too much to just keep putting my team out. So I think it's a fair criticism, but I also think his hands are tied a little bit in terms of, because we have spent money in the summer, but we can't forget that the previous 3 transfer windows before that, there wasn't a first team signing made. So I don't know. It's very, very difficult. I wish I knew the answer. I'd go and recommend something myself, but I don't know. Probably should rotate more, but yeah, tough squad.
Yeah, it's a fair point. If any of us had the answer, would be in Eddie Howe's shoes right now, probably. Do you just want to go to was a super chat there? Thank you very much. It is a dig at Roy. I am sorry, mate. Hey. Apparently the jacket has seen better days. I think you look dapper.
Looks good.
I think you look very dapper.
It's like a suit jacket thing, but it's leather.
Looks like he's about to try and take Eddie's job. He looks like good.
No, don't take it off on the counter, was it? You know what you've been doing, was it? You see what you've done.
It's not that cold in Qatar.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, was it, for the super chat, and just into something Gary put there as well. Academy players on the bench: Alex Murphy, 32 games, 3 appearances. Sean Neve, 19 games, 0 appearances. And Leo Shahar, 11 games, 0 appearances. Why are they on the bench if never given minutes? Bogey, anything you think on that one? Personally, I don't think we've had much of a choice, but what do you think?
Well, I think, for example, Neve, when we played Man United, and it didn't look like we would play it for the next 6 months, would have scored a goal against them.
Yeah.
Why not chuck him on and just give him a chance? You know, go with an extra striker up front for the last few minutes. I said that at the time. In the likes of Shaw and Murphy, you're going to have to, if we've got players, we're going to have to start using them. I mean, would Shaw be a better choice than Trippier sometimes? You know, can we expect Trippier to play 3 games a week in, week out, week in, week out? It goes back to the point of rotating. And again, I was reading the fact today, and I don't know if it was 22 or 32, but Chow's played that many games in a row. I think it might be 22. you can't expect players to keep going like that. They are going to break down at some point.
Yeah, 100%. What, Kev? What do you think? Do you think the academy's good enough to get minutes?
I'd love to see Leo Shahar come in and have a fantastic appearance, but again, it really shows that we haven't got the squad really to be in the Champions League when we're talking about should we be giving Leo Shahar minutes over Kieran Trippier? Like, the obvious answer is no. I get it if Trippier genuinely is desperate for a rest and there is nobody. I think we're on the bench for emergency, and look, like me, local lad, Geordie, I'd love to see these lads come in. I'm one of the ones who quite like Longstaff, didn't think he was a fantastic player, but I used to love seeing him kind of play because it was like how I would be, and I'd be quite limited ability-wise, but I almost really swore, but love the tune and give everything. So I'd love to see them get more minutes. But I mean, my God, it's a sign of a squad, isn't it? I think we've progressed too quickly, and that sounds stupid. But in terms of like when Howe came in, do you know if we just like we stayed up that first season, maybe finished like 17th, not 11th, and then we finished 10th or 9th the second season, and then the third season we got Europa League 6th, and then this season when we're Champions League, we'd be absolutely buzzing because it was like that genuine progression. Howe's kind of own downfall is his own success. It's that instant survival, Champions League, drop off, Champions League, and now the expectations went from I would have been happy with 17th, then 9th, then 6th, then 4th. He's almost set himself up really where these conversations are being had because it's a case of the expectations are now up here because we've seen him get players like that in the Champions League, but young players goes one or two ways, doesn't it? They come in and look amazing and we think, wow, like Kevin Mbabu, remember him? He came in and he looked like an absolute baller, but then really we realised he wasn't that good and he went out to Wolves, but he's had a pretty good career, like, but it goes one or two ways, and it either goes that way or like the Mehdi Abid way where Abid came in or Gail Bigger-Ramana came in and they were like, okay, and then they were just like, wow, they really aren't up to standard, we're now in a relegation scrap. I'm not saying that's what would happen here, but
I thought Biggie was the next big thing, I can't lie.
Yeah. I thought Bigger-Ramana was going to be class, but then you realise that these players unfortunately just aren't that good. So
yeah, the Burundi superstar didn't really live up to his name. Just to pick out something you said there, I think it's really interesting the point of Eddie Howe's almost a victim of his own success.
Definitely, for me.
Bogey, Roy, I'm very interested to get both of your opinions because you're both sort of teetering on the side of Eddie Howe out at the minute. Do you think it's one of those where he is a victim of his own success and he can't live up to what he originally did in that first place? Or do you think where we should have been over the last few seasons and Howe's just sort of hit the standards? I'll let either of you take point on that.
Well, I'll start with that one. I'll let Roy answer for himself, but I'm not teetering on the fence. I'm over the fence and halfway down the road now. I think he's a great guy. He's done brilliant for, you know, he's won with a cup. He's got with the Champions League for 2 years, but he's reached his limitations as a manager as far as we can see. And if there was change there in any way, or you could see things changing in any way, in regards to in-game management, in regards to recruitment, in regards to anything, to the management side of it, but there's no change from in my eyes. And even if he shook up his training squad at some point, his coaching squad at some point, just, you know, to bring in some fresh ideas. But sometimes management, you go stale, and I think that's kind of where Eddie's at the minute in my eyes.
Would you agree, Roy?
Yeah, exactly the same as Boki, really. I think he's reached his limit. It's like having a 4-cylinder, 2-liter car. You can put an air filter, supercharger, stuff like that. The car starts with 150 horsepower, and it's gone to 200 horsepower. And everybody else is on 300 horsepower, and you need a new engine. You need something else now. He's done great. I mean, we don't hate him. I love the guy. Got posters of him everywhere. But I just think that small little details like he can't do. Like I'll name few games. Like yesterday, he could have just take Usula off. I mean West off. Just bring them both of them. Let them both play. You could have taken Trippier off, and then moved Miley to the right side. Doesn't have to be called right back. Could be right full back. And it's changed his shape a bit.
I would agree with what Roy's saying there, but the only thing we've got to be careful of is like we don't actually know how many minutes Wissa has in him. I know he's obviously advised by physios and the sports science side of football now. Like, we don't know if Wiss has got 90 minutes, then I agree, definitely, but we've got to be careful because we don't know all the information all the time. I think I get what Roy and Bulky are saying, and I kind of understand why they think that, but I think what's really important to look at is, even if Howe has hit his limitation, which I don't think he has, but even if he has, it's a case of, if somebody comes in, it doesn't automatically make it better with his squad of players. If we'd had a couple of more world-class players, so at the minute, I would probably only consider Bruno, maybe just Tonali, maybe if he's on form. Tonali, if he's on form. He's not in form at the minute. But I'd only really consider them two would potentially get in like the other top 4-5 teams. So it would be great to have, like, so personally, right, I love Eddie Howe and I'm not advocating for him to leave, but I love Mourinho. I'd love to see Mourinho at Newcastle. But the style of football is horrendous. And Mourinho isn't getting out of Willock, Murphy, Elanga, Gordon any more than what Howe already is. So I guess if there was an Ancelotti in terms of being open to it, then I think the conversation would have a little bit more, for me anyway, as a Eddie Howe fan, have a little bit more I'd be a little bit more persuaded, because I think, well, Ancelotti has proven, like, wow, that is a big signing. But I just think at the minute, and it's not a case of because there's nobody else out there, but I think if we had a better squad, I would maybe be starting to think about life after Eddie Howe. But I still go back to the squad. I'm not sure the squad's good enough under any other manager, really, personally. And you know, when we talk about form after European games, Villa, when they were in the Champions League last year, we only won 1 out of 8, didn't they? After the Champions League, if you remember.
Really struggled.
So we only beat Wolves at home. We drew with United. We drew with Bournemouth. We lost to Liverpool. Lost to Chelsea. Lost to Forest. Drew with West Ham and lost to Wolves away. So then you're thinking, if Villa are struggling, I think it's where we are as a club. We're not, unfortunately, I'd love to be, by the way, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, I'd love to be there, but like us and Villa are so similar, where when we're in the Champions League, we tend to struggle more in the league. And if we're not in the Champions League, if we were in the Europa League this year, I agree with what Roy and Bulky are saying. I think Willock's good enough to play Europa League. I think Murphy would get loads of minutes in the Europa League. Maybe some of the youngsters would get more minutes in the Europa League, because you're playing lesser teams. I think it's really hard, and it'd be really brave for Eddie or any manager, actually, with this current squad, to turn around and say, right, I'm going to stick Leo Chahar in against Benfica at home, because no matter what, Trippier needs rested. Like, I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but I just find it really difficult. I think if there was an Ancelotti out there who genuinely contacted the club, or somebody put a feeler out, I'd be like, right, now's the time to have a conversation. Maybe end of the season, can we arrange that to happen? But I don't think anybody else gets out of these players anything more, personally.
In regards to that, the squad now is Eddie Howe's squad completely. You know, I think there's 4 players in it from the Bruce days still, is there? We've got Shaw, Lascelles, Newcastle Lascelles, Willock and J7.
Joe Linton, Murphy.
Sorry, yeah.
Still a lot of relegation players in there.
But that was this squad now is what Eddie's wanted. This is his squad of players.
But the players like Burn and stuff were signed to get us out of that relegation. So like Burn, I love Burn. Like, again, another local lad, but he's limited, isn't he, in terms of how good he really is in terms of Champions League. So Burn and Trippier and them players who came in, we almost have to be aware that it was a different phase. That was a please get us safe. Please, that was probably the aim, get us safe with likes of Burn, Chris Wood and them, and then maybe try and go Europa League. But then that's why I mean he's a victim of his own success. He almost took them players and ran with it and got us Champions League, and it's like, we're not really Champions League players, and that's where I think our squad really struggles. And I think Villa were the same last year. I think Emery, another very good manager, took Villa too far too quick. And I remember last season when Villa were in the Champions League, losing games after the Champions League games, there was some Villa fans thinking, can Emery do it here? But obviously he's turned that around with time and in a whole year. So I think we've got to almost learn from Villa. I think we've got to try and where we should work with Villa if we can, to disrupt the big boys, because we're not at that level to have that squad yet. Eventually we will be. And I think if we were at that stage where we did have again, I love these players, by the way, I don't mean this in any disrespect, but if the Murphys, Burns, Willocks and that were gone, and we had other players in, maybe like a Camavinga or some real absolute quality, I'd be thinking, right, now we're really struggling still. Now it's time to maybe think about a manager. But I think with the squad, us and Villa are so similar. Almost don't learn from Villa. Villa didn't get rid of Emery and we're stuck with him, and now they're putting a title challenge together. Granted, not in the Champions League, but I would settle for Europa League and third in the Premier League next year. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I absolutely agree. And I just wanted to share something there of another reason that I actually haven't seen being used. So when I actually saw this, I was quite surprised. It's the number of teams worst affected by injuries this season. Now, I'll be honest, when I've sat here and thought about it, I don't think our injury crisis has been that bad. So I've got a feeling Jamal Lascelles being out for the
Only
full
got 4
season.
defenders to pick from.
Yeah, but all of the injuries have come in the same positions, if you know what I mean.
That's it worse.
Where's Lascelles, really?
Yeah, so I think it's one of those. You look at, I look at Tottenham, and I think every time I watch them play, I feel like they've got 10 players missing. I don't feel like that for us. But is that just another... I hate to sound like a happy clapper, but is that another reason why you can look at it? Because exactly the same 2 years ago, when we were playing high-intensity football, we were top of this list. We've changed the high-intensity football, but nothing's changed here.
I think that looks towards, the games where, and I agree because it's frustrating when we don't press. The games where we haven't really pressed as much as we want, and where's the press gone? Where I think that's kind of like an actual decision in terms of trying to do something. It hasn't worked, obviously, but I think that's trying to do something different to have less injuries. So it hasn't worked in terms of injuries, and it definitely hasn't worked in terms of results, so to speak. But again, we're in that weird position, aren't we? Where obviously we all wanted to beat Villa, but let's be honest, Villa were very good, I thought. And Villa are a very good team this season. We're third, and we're not, I think, how many points are we behind Arsenal? 5 or something, which is crazy to think about. So Villa's obviously a very good team, but I just think we're in that weird position now where if we can somehow just, Burn's back, thank God, because we can now rotate the centre-halves, and I think he trusts Burn enough to put him in there. And we can get
as long as he's at centre-half.
Yeah, as long as he's a centre-half. As long as we can, and then hope Tino comes back and Tino can maybe give Hall a rest on the left, because Tino's very good left back as well as right back. If we can just get some players back and get a little bit of momentum from somewhere, I agree it looks pretty, well, I wouldn't say desperate right now, but it looks unlikely. But if we can just get a bit of rhythm, a bit of momentum, everyone pulling in the right direction, and with 2 strikers, that's the main thing for me. Like I say, when Isak first came, he didn't set the world alight, but we had Wilson to fall back on. Our issue here is Isak's gone. I mean, God, how the hell could you control that as a manager or a club even? You've got to sell him if he wants to go to Liverpool. But then we haven't had a established striker at the club. So when Wissa's come in, had a big injury. Wissa missed how many games? I've got no idea. He'll be a lot of days lost on that list. And then Voltemada comes in. And again, I love Voltemada, but he does need time. His confidence has probably took a bit of a hit in terms of the results not going that way and then the goals and assists dropping off. So if we just get one of them 2 firing and we get some players back, we can still have a really good season this season. I don't think it's lost, but I think to do that, and Howe said this loads of times, Robson said it, Keegan said it, when everybody's pulling in the right direction, it's a juggernaut. But when, like Gary Speed said and Scott Parker said, if Newcastle's not pulling in the right direction, it's one of the hardest places to be. So that's, for me, it's a crucial time, and it's not just fans, but it's players, it's managers, it's everybody. It's a huge part of the season for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. Roy, Bogey, I'm interested to get both of your opinions. Is this something that you can look at, go, maybe we've been a little bit unlucky, or is it just one of those where, let's be honest, every team deals with injuries, you've just got to deal with it?
I think we spent 250, 60 million pound in the summer. Yeah, you're going to get injuries. When we're going to get injuries, but you have to manage them. You have to, you have to think that's why we spend so much money, is so that we could have the players. And a lot of people said at the time, I disagreed with it when people were saying, "Oh, we're buying players for the bench this transfer window." And I went, "Well, why we're buying bench players? You buy a player to better what you've got in the team. Obviously, the player that's in the team then comes off." And I think the biggest one for me was with Joe Linton. We could have got, if we'd spent another 30, 40 million, we could have got a better central midfielder than Joe Linton. And then Joe Linton comes on the bench, so you've got him to come on. But it was a strange one, the Ramsey signing to me. I don't know why we bought a midfielder that was not even one in the team at Villa.
Yeah, completely agree, to be honest. Roy, are you in the same boat as Bogey?
Yeah, I mean, out of all the signings, I know people whinge about Elanga, but for me, Ramsey is the worst one. I mean, Elanga
Really?
is something lost in his mind. I think he's got something there, but Ramsey, when he's playing, maybe that first 15 minutes against Leeds, he looks good, and then he got injured. So maybe that's what our bad luck there. Same with Tino as well. Tino got injured against Arsenal. Until that happened, well, until that moment, he was one of the best players as well, and he was playing on the left. So we are unlucky as well. We can't blame Eddie for injuries and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'll blame him for stuff like a player gets a knock just before half time. Second half turns up, and after 3 minutes, he's holding his hamstring. That's when I blame Eddie.
Yeah, fair point. More than a fair point.
But we've been unlucky with Tino. We've been unlucky with Wissa. It's not our fault. We're unlucky with. It was actually Longstaff who tackled Ramsey that day. So it was. So those three, were just wrong place, wrong time. Who else got injured? Pope, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Burns obviously had a long time out after the derby. Shaw's done his ankle.
Yeah, so too many. Yeah, we've been unlucky as well. It wasn't like somebody was running and suddenly is holding his hamstring. Maybe Murphy's probably the only one, but none of the injuries are Eddie's fault, really.
I agree. But maybe I could argue the Jacob Murphy one because he hasn't looked right for a little while. But if the medical team are sitting there and saying, there's nothing wrong with him, then you kind of got to go with them. But what I would argue with that is we bought Bunsey and stop this. If anything, it's got worse. So realistically, exactly. Don't just stop at Eddie Howe. Don't just stop at Tyndall. Get the rest of them out as well.
No, just Buns.
Sometimes the player's fault as well, because if he's not complaining about something, the doctor's not going to know.
To play out. Look at Bruno. When Bruno went down, he tried to get up and he was desperate to play on. Joe Linton's done it a couple of times this season where you think you're clearly crocked. Come on, stop faking it, stop masking the pain, and just literally let somebody know that you're genuinely in trouble. I think, and I guess again that's. In a way, it's a compliment to Newcastle because we're desperate to play for us. We're desperate to turn it around. And that banner isn't a famous banner. We don't demand a team that wins. We demand a team that tries. All of these players are desperate to stay on the pitch and play. But at times, it can be a bit of a detriment. And I guess as a kind of sports injury specialist, how on earth do you make that decision of you're telling me you're okay, you're telling me you're going to run it off, I can't see inside your leg or your muscle, I don't know what, like as a professional there, I don't know what you do, because if you bring the player off and he boots off and he is actually completely fine, Howe's going to be annoyed at you because he's like, well, why did you tell us to bring him off? Look, he's running, he's absolutely fine. It's a difficult one to be in. So I guess the players at times, as much as I love that about them, and I'm not going to criticise them for wanting to play through injury, because I'd be exactly the same if I ever had the chance to put on a black and white shirt. But it's almost like a detriment now that we demand a team that tries, not wins, because we're all desperately trying, but it's at times causing more injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And just get to some super chats there quickly. Was Erin with 2? Apologies, I missed your first one, buddy, but I'm getting to it now. Betcha Roy had a Subaru back in the day. I mean, yeah. I'm not sure what's wrong with a Subaru, if anything at all.
I really like them. They're great cars. Yeah. I like American cars. I've got a Mustang.
Oof. And then it's OBS, the cold, Mr.
That's why I made it on time.
Speeding through the streets.
I'll send Chris the speeding tickets. His fault.
Right, yeah. Any super chats now? You paid for Rice speeding tickets. Enjoy. But the second super chat, it's OBS, the cold, Mr. M. The answer is Ready Breck. And yes, I have noticed that my name says Mr. Michael. I'm not sure why, but it seems to do it every time I log in. So someone's trying to tell me something. Right. And there was a couple other that I've starred there as well. One from Gary. Even if the medical team say Wissa 70 minutes, bring Osula on at 60 to double up, then bring Walt on for Wissa. There's still a change in system and personnel.
Does Osula have half an hour? We have no idea.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I don't think he would have at the weekend.
I agree with exactly what people are saying about like playing them both and bringing us in, but we have no idea how fit these guys are. I remember Joe Linton was on the bench for about 3 or 4 games in a row, and when Howe got asked about it, it was a case of he shouldn't even be there, really. He's only there for a desperate emergency. And it was like, what? That can't be right. Why is he on the bench if he's not even fit enough to be on it? And that had me thinking, what is happening? What is going on here? Like, if he's actually injured, just put anybody in there. But it's really, or you only had like 10 minutes or something, I think was the answer. And I'm thinking, only 10 minutes? Is that worthy of the bench? I don't know. But we haven't got a clue, really, unfortunately, in terms of what players are going through and what they're playing through at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one here from Gavin. He says, they just need the freedom. They're not allowed to shoot. Look at Manchester United. They've been given freedom. And to be fair, they do look like a much better side under Michael Carrick, don't they? But let's see how they do against the lesser teams, because he's always done all right against those big boys. Do you think, Bogey, do you think it is a case of Newcastle maybe being too rigid, too afraid to take risks, which has been our problem this season?
Oh, 100%. I mean, but as I say, when do you ever see we just go for it? Big example of this one was the match yesterday. In regards to Aston Villa, as soon as they went 2-0 up, why didn't Eddie just think, doesn't matter if I lose this 3-0 or 4-0, I'll chuck Chow up. There's another striker, and just get him to flick on for 4 people.
Yeah.
But there's never that sort of impetus to sort of, just take a chance. So, yeah, we're proper rigid with what we're doing.
Yeah. Do you agree, Kev? Is he a bit too rigid at times? Or
I don't know. I always think back, like, obviously the Leeds game 4-3, 3-1 down against West Ham when we came back to win 4-3. I think if the opportunity's there, you'll try. But I think Villa's such a good team that if you gamble and get it wrong and loses 4-0, then there'll be more than just Newcastle fans maybe wanting them out. It'll be all over TalkSport, Sky Sports News, and then it increases the pressure. And I get that's probably not what he's thinking is, if I'm honest. But that would be my thinking if I was a manager in Newcastle, because I'd be like, God, it's unforgivable to these fans to lose 4-0 at home. But it's probably not what he's thinking. Eddie Howe probably is thinking, go try and win 3-2, but it's not always easy, is it? It was poor. Once we went 2-0 down, I felt like the whole ground was deflated, rightly so. The players looked deflated because it was like we had a lot of the ball again, but we couldn't create. It's that striker issue where we are really missing Isak, whether we want to admit it or not, or we kind of not forgiven him, but we would absolutely kill to have him back in form now, because we'd be in a very different place, wouldn't we? It was Isaac and Liverpool have done us over a little bit, but you've got to adapt to it, and we haven't adapted fantastically well. But I'm sure, given time, and I know other people aren't, but I think if given time and them strikers can get up and run and create some connections with forward players, then I think we'll see a slightly different version of Newcastle, but successful. But I'd like to see him take a chance more in terms of 2-0 down at Villa, but I think overall he does go for it. He always seems to try to win a game, whether or not it's executed how he imagines it to be executed is another thing, I think.
Yeah.
So, Kev, how long do you give him? How long do
you've got to give him to the end of the season? You've got to give him a full season to see these new players and these new strikers, because, I mean, again, it's what do? We get rid of him and get a new manager bounce for 3 or 4 games, which is brilliant. But then all of a sudden, I mean, look, when we got rid of Robson, we kind of, well, I didn't, but again, there was people calling for Robson to go. Robson went, and we got a new manager lift with Souness slightly, and when that went, and then we got another new manager lift with Roda, and we finished 7th, and then went back to 14th. And it's very difficult. The new manager bounce works. I mean, Sunderland made 10 miles down the road, stayed in the Premier League for 4 or 5 years running by changing manager, normally just before a derby. But when that ended up in League One, when there was no long-term thinking, long-term planning, long-term commitment to a professional and short-term gain, does it outweigh the long-term goal? I don't know. It's tough. Look, I love Eddie, and I'll always be respectful for what he did, like you guys said. But I think you can't just pull the trigger that quickly on somebody who's got it right so often in the past. And I know everyone harps back to, but it's the past. But that's all we have to go on. We can't see into the future. And I'm better of a devil you know than the devil you don't at the minute, especially being a Newcastle fan. It's we've seen way too many devils we don't know come in and completely flop.
The problem I've got with that is if we'll get to the summer, and I'll use Win as an example. We'll get to the summer, Win will change his mind again. Even if we haven't qualified for Europe and we went out of all the cups, Win will change his mind again and say, you've got to give him, because he won the cup for Win, he's got the Champions League twice, you've got to give him at least to the start of the season to see if he can turn it around to next season. So it seems that the goalposts get moved.
No, I think
quite a lot of the time by
maybe with some. I think the problem at the minute, our fan base, you've got like over here, blind, kind of me-ish 8-year contract Eddie Howe and just forget about it and don't question anything. But I'm not really fully that way. I like to kind of have a conversation about maybe what could possibly happen. Then you got the other side, which I don't think anybody on here is in terms of just get rid of them, board, done. But it's a case of there's two then kind of right and left like pro sides. I think if Howe gets to the end of the season and we finished 10th, obviously haven't won a cup, not going to win the Champions League, FA Cup, probably looking unlikely in terms of form. Then you have to have a serious conversation of, look, is now the time to give it a fresh look and freshen it up? Personally, I don't know if I'd be on that side of give him. I think you've got to make the decision then, and I think you've got to make a long-term decision. You either go for like, right, the next 2 years is this is the plan, and then you've got to give 2 years, which is really dangerous in football. Or you've then got to say, right, it's now fresh because we need a fresh impetus or whatever. But that's a hell of a conversation to have with somebody who, I mean, like I say, I know we can't keep harping back, but I think he's a victim of his own success in terms of how quickly we progressed. Nobody expected it. And like I said before, imagine if we just finished 17th, then finished 10th, then finished 6th, and then finished 4th. We'd all be buzzing now. We'd still be absolutely buzzing because we saw a slow and steady improvement. It's the fact we went from relegation, guaranteed championship, to straight to Champions League, and that's what's kind of done it. If it was just that slow, steady progress, we'd be buzzing. But that's when the conversation happens at the end of the season of, right, does fresh impetus bring this, or does a 2-year clear plan with, and it's not, Eddie's not totally blameless, but a case of, can he actually have another window with a director of football? Because the last window when a director of football signed players was Ashworth, wasn't it? So we're trying to compete with these clubs like City, who infrastructure is unbelievable. Chelsea infrastructure, they have, everybody has a job, everybody knows what we're doing, they can get players through the door, all that type of stuff. Same with Arsenal, they had Edu went, and then who came in after Edu? I can't remember. Was it Hugo Viana came into Man City, didn't he? But these all have infrastructure, and we're kind of always, it always seems chaos at Newcastle. And I think some fans are probably addicted to that chaos because it's all we've ever known is just change the manager, somebody new, carnage, Ashley's not spending, protest, relegated, promoted, amazing, happy, quarterfinal, 4-4 Arsenal, crap, lost to Wolves. Like, it's always, and now we're at a weird phase where we just need to get that infrastructure to where we're trying to compete with, and then maybe see where we're at. But even then, it might not guarantee success. So I think you've got to give them to the end of the season. Answer. That was a long-winded answer, but you've got to give them to the end of the season because I think there's so many interchangeables. And like I say, Howe's not blameless. I'd love to see him rotate more, but we don't know how good these players are, really. Because again, that, like I said on a previous episode, the coaching has took Murphy to a level. Whoever thought Jacob Murphy would get 20 goal contributions in one season? No, you didn't.
On the first pod we ever did together, I said Murphy would get called for England.
Tongue in cheek. No way, 20 goal contributions. But yeah, again, we've just got to wait and see. Look, again, it's great to have these discussions, but we've got to get behind, especially with fixtures coming up. Bloody hell. Brentford at home, and there's another game at home, a must win, I think. Otherwise, it'll be, because at the minute, one of my points is the media aren't talking about Howe out. The media would look at us as being like ungrateful if that was like a big, big thing of, what on earth? We want Eddie Howe out. What's going on there? The media aren't talking about it because they think it's ludicrous. However, over the next 4 or 5 fixtures, especially on away games, it might not be as ludicrous in the media if that's then getting discussed. So that Brentford home game, and there's another one, I can't remember who it is, but that's going to be massive as well.
Yeah, 100%. Just to cut in there, was there with another super chat. Thank you very much, mate. Back to basics. Don't complicate. We have players. And to be honest, in partly I agree, because that's what we did so well when Howe first came in, that first season where he was there. It wasn't anything flash. We did the basics. We got it right. We weren't making mistakes. And sure, we weren't doing very well against, the likes of Man City, Liverpool stuff. I remember they thrashed were. But we were getting the wins that were getting up there. And we were, I think it was 5th on form just by doing the basics right. So I'm inclined to agree, when things aren't going right, you look back at the basics. But I've just had something that Gary has sent over as well, which I had seen, to be fair. It's the latest form table, and I'm sure everyone's going to love to see it, because it does kind of mask over a few cracks, in my opinion. But I'll just zoom in and then I'll put it on the screen just to make it a little easier. Right, so we've got the transition in here. So last 5 games, Newcastle obviously top of that league, Manchester United in second, Arsenal, Chelsea there as well. Now, what I will add is when you do look at Newcastle's last 5 games, there's Leeds in there, there's Burnley in there. Sure, there's some Aston Villa, there's some decent teams in there as well. But yeah, we have had some pretty fortunable fixtures. Do you think that just sort of papers over a few cracks, Bogey?
Yeah, I think so. I think it also shows how unpredictable the Premier League is this season in regards to
completely
results.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at it, there's no consistent team, is there? Really, other than I mean, Arsenal now has started to drop. There's no consistent team in the Premier League.
No, I completely agree. And Roy, would you say it's one of those? You look at the fixtures, it lines up with the form, but just my thought there is, where are we going to be in 5 games' time? I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, if our next 5 look like, I can't see it happening, but yeah, I'm surprised actually. So who are the 3? Burnley and City,
Leeds,
Burnley.
and
City would be City
Palace.
Oh, Palace.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame that last game's in there. If you'd have a City game before that, you'd have 4 wins out of 5.
Yeah, we would.
That's well, 10 points. 10 points out of 5 games is good.
Yeah, average 2 points a game.
How many would you get from the next 5? I'll take from the next 5. That'll be good.
Yeah, the next 5.
I don't know the next 5 in the league, because like when I was looking today, and it's like obviously Villa away in the cup, City away in the League Cup, Liverpool away in the league.
So we got.
And it's like I don't know in terms of 5 league games. I actually haven't looked because January was rammed with games. February looks like it's going to be rammed with games because there's the League Cup, the FA Cup. There's no Champions League game, but the next one's the last one isn't in terms of PSG away. So I don't actually know who the next 5 are in the league. I don't know that.
I think if we don't get through to the top 8 in the Champions League, we'll have to play the away tie. We have to play in Feb, the away tie of our Champions League game. Whoever we're drawn in the Champions League against.
Right.
Yeah. So
tough to make the top 8.
Yeah,
PSG away without Bruno or Joe Linton. Jesus, good luck with that.
You know, the thing is, though, that's the kind of game that Newcastle will probably put in a good performance against. And then Liverpool, who are playing absolutely shocking, they'll beat with 4-0. It's just the Newcastle way. But the next 5 league games for Newcastle, Liverpool away, Brentford at home, Tottenham Hotspur away, Manchester City away, and Everton at home. So I don't know about yous.
7 to 9.
Yeah, if I'm looking at an informed Newcastle United, which I am not, I will say, I'm looking at that and going...
Top of the form table.
Who have we played? Let's be honest. If I'm looking at it...
I was tongue-in-cheek there, but on a serious note, there's no easy games in the Premier League. Like, I mean, Wolves have picked up from absolutely nowhere. West Ham, all of a sudden. How on earth is West Ham, like... I just don't know. Where's West Ham come from? It's that type of league, isn't it, where somebody could come out the woodwork in the next 3 or 4 weeks and think, how they took points off City? And you'd be like, well, because that has happened this season. We can only go off, and I know it's very short history, we can only go off short history, and this league this year is carnage. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, by the way. And again, the man in white, I think white men can't jump. Woody Harrelson. White men can't jump.
White men can't jump. Woody Harrelson.
Look alike.
Thank you very much for the super chat.
I thought you meant the men in white suits were going to come and get us, because I was about to say we could then somehow go and get points off Liverpool. But the Brentford home game, the Tottenham away game, the Everton home game, if you can get 3 wins there, you're actually probably looking at the league after all the other crazy results, thinking, oh, we're kind of back in with a chance here. So it's one of them seasons, isn't it? It's absolutely carnage. But you could also, by the way, lose to Tottenham away, lose to Everton at home, and lose well. And you're thinking, what the hell do we do now? So it's mental. It's a crazy league.
That's the thing. This time next month, the perspective on Newcastle United could completely change. Because I was saying there's 3 games there that if you've got an informed Newcastle United, you're looking at and going, there's 9 points there. Brentford at home, Tottenham away, Everton at home. Yep. Now, don't get me wrong, as I've said, this isn't the Newcastle United that we've seen a couple of years back that would, go into Brentford
even
at
last year
home
had
and
fancy
smash
that.
them.
Yeah, last year had fancy that. And again, I tell you what is also so weird, the drop off after a cup win. Have you noticed every club this season who won a cup has almost dropped off? Liverpool fell off a cliff. Palace are battling relegation after winning the FA Cup. We have had a fall off, but I mean, probably not as big as Liverpool's in terms of where they were. And our fall off, thank God, isn't as big as Palace's. But every club who has won a cup last season has pretty much fell off a cliff, which is mental to think about.
Yeah, it's insane. Nottingham Forest making a bid today for Jean-Philippe Mateta, Crystal Palace's star striker, 35 million to go further down the league. They look like in horrendous position. It's one of those.
They might go down if that happens.
That must be. I mean, do you guys? I mean, it's not really a serious question, but do you think that has something to do with it, like the drop off after the cup? Obviously, that big 70-year wait, or is it just a coincidence that obviously Tottenham, even after winning the Europa League, didn't kick on? We haven't really kicked on. Liverpool didn't kick on. Palace did. Is that actually something we haven't thought about in terms of that could be like a drop off from winning a cup, the emotional, the mental kind of preparation for all of that stuff, this long wait of 70 years, the celebrations of relax a little bit because that was a hell of an effort. Obviously, that's not what we're thinking, but has that got something to do with it, or are we?
I think personally, I would have said that for the end of the season last year. That was maybe the excuse because, I mean, let's be honest, we didn't play great football at the end of last season. I remember the Rat in particular having a pretty dire spell. But I think it's one of those where I think after you win the trophy, you think for the next 4 or 5 games, it's probably going to be a bit of a hangover there, and you're going to accept it. I'm not quite sure I can accept it now.
I don't think it's the only reason. I don't think it's the only reason. I just think it might be. I don't know. I don't even know if I think it really. I just kind of thought it there and thought, wow, there's loads of teams had a drop off. Is there something in that, or is it just? I don't know if I genuinely think it might contribute. I don't know if I'm honest, because it was such a long wait. Wasn't it 70 years? I mean, Keegan failed to win a trophy. Robson failed to win a trophy. And then these players who aren't Ginolas, aren't Asprias, aren't Shearers, were the ones who did it. I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure.
I think out of that, but just one quick point on that is, I can't remember how much Crystal Palace spent in the summer, but they didn't spend mountains, did they?
No,
we weren't the big spenders, but we went out and spent big, and Liverpool went out and spent big. You wouldn't expect it to drop off. But I can understand. Michael said I could understand towards the end of the season, but the next season you think you would be going into it feeling more confident because you've got the cup win behind you.
Yeah, maybe.
You're sort of up from it. I suppose it's just
I don't know. I don't know how the mentality would kind of be affected, because you're right there. Like, you made a good point there, but you'd like to think the mentality is right. Let's go get another cup. But I don't know if the mentality is then, that's a hell of a burden off our backs, isn't it, lads? Like, let's kind of not relax, because you would never do that. But it's I don't know. Never thought about that. Just thought I'd chuck it out there.
No, to be honest, I completely agree. And, I just wanted to touch on something that I know the guys spoke about a little bit earlier. The Bruno Guimaraes record. Obviously, the big thing in games at the moment is, you sit and you listen, and everyone always says, "Oh, we can't win without Bruno." I know we did the Arsenal game, the 2-0, but the record without him is pretty shocking, to be honest. And I've put together a little graph there, but before I put it on, I'll go for was a super chat there. Thank you very much, mate. Point, not excuse. Playing teams when in form, quitting. So I think it's one of those completely. We play teams when they're not in form, we get good results. Palace, for example. The one thing I'll say to that is Leeds have lost 1 in 11. So their form's definitely up. But what we are seeing is on a few occasions, we are playing teams at the right times at times. But
you could argue we played
the same for us.
Not that it was a bad time to really play Wolves, but Wolves were 5 unbeaten before us. We're not a good team, and we should have beat them absolutely.
True.
But you could have picked a better time to play Wolves, like early on in the season when we're getting absolutely battered. That would have been nice. But I think, again, that swings around about, doesn't it? Like, it happens to all teams. They'll play teams that, like, we could play Tottenham away in the next couple of weeks. Could have a new manager bounce, and it's the worst time to play them. You'd be desperate, even though we're terrible away from home at the minute. You'd be desperate to play Tottenham next away rather than Liverpool, because you'd feel like you go in there with a chance. So, guys, it swings around about, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to put something on the screen there now. Let me know if you can see that all right, or if it's a bit small. Is it all right?
I can read
can
it.
see it, yeah.
Yeah, cracking stuff. So, Premier League record from the 9 games we've played without Bruno Guimaraes. To be honest, it's fairly shocking, isn't it? 5 draws, 4 defeats. In those games, scored just 4 times. And all 4 of the players that scored don't play for the club anymore. Alan Saint-Maximin against Wolves, Isak against Liverpool, Wilson against West Ham, and Miggy against Bournemouth. Now, I'll be honest, Bogey, you look at those fixtures, there's not really many there that you look at and go, yeah, we definitely should be winning that, but you'd expect us to have been doing a little bit better, wouldn't you?
100%. It's maybe just one of those like freakish stats, and what you've got to think is as well is because Bruno plays so often, it does disturb the team when he's out of it. Will naturally disturb it because everybody's so used to him being there, like 99% of the time, that when he does drop out, I think this was part of the thing with against Villa when he did drop out, it did look a little bit more of a struggle than it has been. Sort of.
Yeah.
He's a good player. I think it's top and bottom of it. So I think I'm not surprised with the stats.
Yeah. What about you, Kev? What do you think?
Yeah, I think when I went before, when I was talking about the squad, and I said maybe only Bruno's our only like world class player. Maybe Tonali, if he's back in form, I would maybe give. But I think he's one of the very few players who we've got and we've signed who wasn't like battling relegation at a previous club. Like I say, when I made the comment in Boki's fair point about obviously signing these players in this squad, we signed Burn to get out of relegation and Wood, and players like that. Bruno was a signing who we made to get us out of relegation, but it turned out he was absolute world class. But I think there's probably only Bruno and potentially Tonali and Trippier who we've signed from a club who weren't battling relegation regularly or like mid-table obscurity. Even then, I don't know how good Milan were doing before we signed Tonali, because they see Milan have a win. He won the league, didn't he? I think with Milan, and then had a season after that, and then came to us. But I think he's just a world-class player, and all that tells you is he's a level above everything else we've got, and he's a massive miss when he doesn't play.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those where I think you look at the games. Sorry if I cut someone off there. I wasn't actually looking at the screen. But I've got something else from Gary and Wynne have both sent something in here. So it's going to be something when they've sent in virtually the same thing there. So I'm going to just share my screen a little bit there. Yous are unfortunately going to get 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds of nothing there, but there we go. And of course I'm going to zoom in before anyone says anything. Eyesight's not that good.
My eyes aren't that good.
Right, so I had Win and Gary the last 10 and the last 12 and asked me to show it. So we'll start with the last 10 in the form table there. I think it's one of those. I look at the last 10.
Fulham, look where Fulham are. Bloody hell.
Exactly. I look at Fulham and Leeds and I think, you know what, maybe that isn't that impressive.
Informed teams.
Yeah, 100%. But what I would say is we beat Fulham and we did beat Leeds.
Yeah.
So they are actually in decent form. If we go down to the bottom, Burnley, I mean, there's no surprise we beat them twice. Wolves we've played, couldn't beat. Palace we played, beat. Brighton, probably the best we don't play them. Danny Welbeck turns up once a season. But then who else have we played in there? Bournemouth we've played in the cup. There's some there's some half decent teams in there. Yeah. But I mean, Villa being at the top is something as well where you look at and go,
very good team, Villa.
Yeah, we do. Actually, that's something there. Out of the top 3, do you have a preference on who you would want to win the title? Because I know most people hate Arsenal, but a lot of people hate Villa as well. So, Kev, I'll start with you. You got a preference on who wins that?
Mine's only because of when I was younger, growing up like late 90s, early 2000s, like Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry. I just want to see Arsenal win it. Out of M3, I prefer Arsenal. Villa started chanting "Sop on the Pine" again, creating something out of nothing. Man City, I'm a bit bored of seeing them win all the time, so probably Arsenal. Even though I can't stand Arteta, but he probably does deserve a trophy because I think he's done a brilliant job again without really winning anything. But yeah,
that I'll be honest, that might be the worst thing you've ever said to me. So I'm going to quickly move on. Bogey, what about you? You got a preference up there? Or would you rather none of them did anything?
I've not got a preference. I suppose Man City would be the best thing for Newcastle because the other two are going to get more money, aren't they?
Yeah, true.
If they win it. So
I know people have a preference of not Villa for the old sob on the Tyne crack, and Arsenal because they whinge 700 days out of 365. What about you, Roy? You got any favourite in that battle, or is it? Oh, let's just focus on the two.
As long as it's not Villa. I'm fine. I mean, I'm the same as Kev as well with Arsenal.
Yes, Roy.
I think they deserve it more. I'm sick of Pep and City, and they've just bought Guéhi and Semenyo as well.
Semenyo,
What else do you need? I mean, imagine those two joining us now. I'll tell you what.
Goodness gracious me, we'd be challenging for a title if we got them two.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If they joined us and they played yesterday, we would have probably won that game, and we'd be challenging for top 4.
And imagine the buzz around the place. Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, and then look at him. What he's got. He's got a Rolls Royce that he just put a supercharger in, and another turbocharger at the back. I don't know.
If you're going off cars, we've just got a pod full of Ferraris, haven't we?
Yeah. So I think he's really spoiled. And sometimes I look at City and I think he doesn't know what to do with them.
Yeah,
loads of them.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, the fact Man City have been inconsistent this year is mental. When you look at the squad, it's like, how can they be inconsistent? But I mean, again, it's Pep in it, so you're not going to question that bloke. He's unbelievable.
No, absolutely not.
So I'm a bit with Arsenal, and I don't want Villa. So if it's City, it's City. But
yeah, absolutely. To be fair, just moved to the last 12 games there. Very surprised to see Fulham in 4th. Newcastle, obviously, we're in 5th. We have had some favourable fixtures. I can't speak on Fulham because, actually, opponents' points per game, I'm going to assume that is during... Yeah, so that's during that period. So Fulham have actually had a better spell than what we have. Ours actually doesn't seem that bad, to be honest, which is actually quite a surprise. Maybe that's because we played Villa, who have won 9 out of 12. City will be in that period as well, and I guess Fulham. So actually, it looks worse than what it is on paper. But the thing there that's interesting for me is the 3 big teams behind it, and this is no disregard to Everton. Manchester United sacked their manager. Chelsea sacked their manager. In Liverpool, there was strong rumours and strong shifts in the odds that Arne Slot was going to be sacked today. That will happen probably, in my opinion, before the end of the season. So it's one of those where you can't argue if the big clubs behind us aren't satisfied with this. Should Newcastle United be?
We're not an Arsenal. We're not a Liverpool or Man United, are we? We're just not that big. I'd love to be, but we're just not
yet.
We're not going to be for a while because when the takeover happened, it changed however many rules we wanted to change to stop us from growing as quick as what obviously Man City and Arsenal could. But I think there's a lot to be said for sticking with a manager. But I think you've got to review it at the end of the season, see where it goes, then have a conversation. But if you want a short-term boost, it's the right thing to do. But if you want a long-term success, you've got to wait a little bit because, like I said, Sunderland did it to stay up for 3 or 4 seasons in a row and then ended up in League One. That obviously won't happen to Man U and them because we've already announced Carrick as interim. But we knew what they were doing. Short-term boost with Carrick. Anybody who came in, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in, he was going to get a short-term lift. If we get a new manager, we'll get a short-term lift. But I think you just got to make the right decision and make the right call maybe at the end of a season, personally. But like I say, I'm not always in the majority.
Yeah. I actually am in favour of making any decisions at the end of the year as well, at the end of the season as well. I mean, I know Roy Bogey, he'd rather see something a little bit different, but I saw something in the WhatsApp. But let's be honest, it's been going mental in the NUFC Talk TV WhatsApp. Get yourself in there if you haven't already. But I saw people saying, if you change your manager during the season, it's successful more often than it isn't. And I thought to myself, I don't think that's true. Because I wrote an article about it, but not being true 2 years ago. Shout out to me. But I thought I'd go through, check the stats, make sure it's still that case. Went to the last 100 mid-season manager sackings. I'll ask you now, obviously it's 100, so it's a nice round number. What percentage of teams do you think actually saw the league position improve? And this goes all the way back, and I only got this bit because it involves Steve Bruce, all the way back to 2011 when Sunderland sacked Steve Bruce for Martin O'Neill. So out of their last 100 mid-season managerial sackings, what percentage of teams actually saw their league position improve? Bogey, I'll start with you.
35%.
Oh, okay. Kev, what do you think?
I don't know. It's a tough one because just because the league position doesn't improve, it doesn't mean that we didn't pick up better. Like Wolves have changed manager, we've improved, but the league position's not going to improve. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'll go 40, 45. Ooh. Actually 45. You go beyond his number.
Okay, and Roy, what are you thinking?
I've got 37 in my head for some reason.
Ben Arthur's number.
Because sometimes you'll depends what I think. So, like West Ham, or less like Wolves, the football improved, but the position is still bottom, exactly. And nothing happens. Yeah, I'll just go 37, a bit in between.
Yeah, Walcott and Bruno, it's improved league position by the end of the season, and the answer is it's a flat 40% rate. So Kev, you were so close, but Roy was the closest.
So close. I've changed to 45 like an idiot.
Fact is, the rate's actually dwindled to 24% in the last 3 seasons. So that new manager bounce that existed 10 years ago.
Long term doesn't work.
Yeah, it's actually out of the last 24, only 7 have actually had a successful time and improved that league position. And that's 29%. So it's one of those where you're looking at it and going, I think based on that, based off what history tells us, maybe, just maybe, it is better for Newcastle in the long run to wait till the end of the season. And I don't think we get anything really from pushing the button now. I know there's a lot that people don't like, but at the end of the season, you've got, 4-5 months to plan? And I agree with what Kev said, where unless there was someone who is a massive name, and I'm very confident could do better, I wouldn't be too happy with someone coming in. The better the devil you know, better against the devil you don't. Maybe there are managers out there who I think could do a bit better, but Roy, what do you think? Is it one of those sort of based off history and stuff? Should we maybe be a bit more considerate, or is it one of those where the risk that is worth the reward? Well, the risk we take is worth the reward, should we say?
Yeah, but at the end, it's the owner's decision, and it depends on what their targets are. If they think we need to be in the top 4, and Eddie's not going to do it, and we've only got like 3 months left, and this and that, and then they'll have to get rid of him now and take the risk. But if they think, okay, we've had this adventure for 4 years with him, give him to the end of the season and reevaluate the whole situation and see how it goes. We might end up finishing 7th and go in Europa League or Conference League.
Yeah,
I don't think that would be a disaster.
It'd be the best thing for Europa League because we could actually almost learn how to balance Europe and the Premier League and have a squad to manage in the Europa League, which is what it goes all the way back to my first point about he's a victim of his own success. Too much improvement too rapidly.
It could be like a little 100%. Reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. There's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's always that risk there. It's just whether or not that risk is worth taking. Bogey, what do you think? Is it a risk that's worth taking, looking at managers past? Obviously, there is some in there. Obviously, you look at, Kev mentioned Wolves 20th, and they're still 20th. They've improved, but it's not going to be included in that particular stat. Is it worth the risk for Newcastle?
Personally, as I say, we've talked all night about how things have developed under Eddie Howe, and the thing is, he hasn't changed for the last 2 seasons in regards to again. I go back with in-game management, things like that. So,
yeah,
what's the point in keeping him till the end of the season, based on the fact that it's simply down to the fact you've got to give him the end of the season? Why? What's the point?
Previously,
no. Can we not go back to previously?
Or you can go off. You can't predict the future, so you've got to go off. Like that's how business decisions are made, aren't we? In terms of
you go previously. So previously, he's made the same mistakes, and he hasn't learned. So people always go back to previously it's part of the reason why we've got to get rid of him. I think you can only base it now on this season because we're halfway through. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't think there's a chance in hell he's going to get sacked now. If they were going to do it, they would have done it in January and give him some money in the transfer window and give a new guy some money in the transfer
everybody
window.
Else, like I said, in the media and other would look at us like we're stupid if we start calling for, like, as a mass, like, get him out would be like, what on earth is happening in terms of what's done. But I get what you're saying in terms basing it on the season. It doesn't. But I think I was answering the reason why we're not pulling the trigger or give him to the end of the season is because in previous seasons when we've struggled, he's put. And again, you're right. You can't rely on putting together a run of form. But again, I know it's previously, but I don't mean 3-4 years. I mean, like, when we've been in this position-ish in the past, it's come good again. So you almost have to keep giving it the chance for that to keep happening. And then when it doesn't, then that's when maybe a more serious conversation in the mainstream media is had of, okay, well, what did Newcastle do now? But I think a lot of the mainstream media don't really question it in terms of why on earth would they get rid of Howe. And I think a main part of it is because who on earth guarantees it? And nobody guarantees it to get better. But like I said before, Ancelotti is a very tempting four. He could get something out of almost any player. But even then, Ancelotti needs money, doesn't he? Chelsea needed money. Real Madrid obviously needed money. And we don't actually know how much we've got. Unfortunately, these PSR rules, nobody really fully understands in terms of the ESAC money. I hear How getting asked about that a lot. And I'm like, oh man, give the guy a break. He already looks stressed a bit. He's working non-stop to try and get it right. And again, I wish sometimes we just had a little bit less emotional attachment to our club, but I guess that's also a beautiful part of being a Geordie and a Newcastle fan. We probably emotionally care more than others. But I sometimes wish I supported Brentford because I'd just be like, nah, we're always crap. Let's just wait. We're having a good season. It won't last. But Newcastle's like, well, we got fourth. We got fourth again. We've now got to try and get fourth again, 3 out of 4. And we all kind of fall into it, me included. I'm like, we're going to challenge for the league, get in. And then I've got to give myself a bit of a shake of the head and think, Christ, Kev, I've still got players like Murphy and Willock, man. Kind of struggle to challenge for the league with them.
Just to quickly pick up on one point about that you made about the press there.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why the press, the southern press, if you like, or wouldn't understand is because when the journals go into the press conferences, he's never asked serious questions or hard cutting questions. So all they ever see is him being able to bash around and have like a good laugh on with people, instead of him being put under pressure and actually asked hard questions like, why is your in-game management so poor? And I know they couldn't ask him that like that straight out.
That was quite a disrespectful question to someone who won the first trophy in 70 years and turned us around. But I get what you mean.
But there's some questions that are ridiculous that he gets asked. If he was asked more hard-cutting questions, I think then other people would pick up on the fact that he is under a little bit of pressure. I think, as you say, the southern press probably think, well, why the hell? TalkSport would think, well, why the hell are you getting rid of him? He's won your first trophy in 70 years. But what they're not seeing is the way we're playing football.
I think it's very tough. Like, honestly, I hope Howe obviously gets it right, but I understand the frustration around the club sometimes. But I also think it's a case of, I know everybody I love these players. Like, I love Byrne, I love Murphy, but I just think, like, are they actually as good as what we think they are? And then the other one I always think of in terms of a new manager, like, before working with Howe, like Tino, Hall, Byrne, Joe Linton, Gordon weren't even internationals. And now we look at them like, we probably protect them a little bit in terms of our mind because we think, oh, Gordon and Joe Linton. But actually, before this period, we were probably all thinking, well, Gordon's a kind of average player at Everton. Joe Linton was horrendous at Newcastle. Murphy was crap at Chef Wed on loan. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Sometimes I ask myself a question all the time because I like to be as fair and as honest as I can be. Do I overrate the players or do I maybe underrate them? And I always get different answers based on kind of what I try and look at because I try and stay away from stuff. But that's what worries me about the whole jumping too quick on the Eddie thing. I saw it under Robson and Robson's team with like Jenas and stuff. We all thought Jenas was a world beater and he had a good career, but you know, it's difficult, and it's been a case of I don't know. I genuinely don't know how good these players are, and if another manager could come in and be amazing with them. But I'd find it hard to see like a big name like Mourinho getting like stuff out of Murphy and Willock and them. I don't know. It's tough. I think we've got to give it to the end of the season, see where we're at.
Yeah, I do completely
go from there.
Yeah, I completely agree. We do have another super chat in there. Tony T. Howe achieved the same as Bruce, a Carling Cup.
Bruce won Newcastle Cup.
I don't think Bruce has ever won a cup as a manager.
I think it was it Wigan or Birmingham?
No, I think he wasn't at Birmingham then. I don't think. I think the
Martin was in the team.
I think he did get to the final with Hull. To be fair, the FA Cup where they got beat by Arsenal, I want to say. I don't think he's actually ever won a trophy.
Wigan won FA Cup, wasn't he?
Yeah,
no, I think he won it with Martins.
Yeah, it was Martinez.
No. Obafemi Martins was playing for one of his teams.
Birmingham. That was
must
Alex
have been
McLeish, I believe.
Was it? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it wasn't him.
Yeah, I think don't be wrong, how Bruce still got to the FA Cup final with Hull, which is actually pretty impressive. But I definitely don't think he's won anything. I might be wrong, and I might just be chatting nonsense.
I think I don't know. I always struggle sometimes with fans. Not both you or Roy, because I think we always make a sensible point and we always try and come at it from the club's best interest at heart. But I mean, like WhatsApp groups I've been in, and we're like, I'm like, what happened to we demand a team that tries, not wins? I get that changes over time because the expectation rises, but like we've come so far. And Borty's absolutely right, by the way. I can't keep going back to bloody 4 years ago and saying, look where we used to be, because eventually that's a ridiculous point. But I just mean in terms of like 4 years ago now, in terms of like the Chelsea time was like a year ago, because it takes so much longer now to build up revenue and be able to spend, whereas Chelsea would look back a year, we would look back 4. But I get we can't keep looking backwards, but I don't know. I think we've got to be a little bit careful. I'm not a massive risk taker in my life anyway. So the fact that this could go terribly wrong, and I think, you know what the problem is for me? I've seen Newcastle switch managers, especially Robson broke my heart, like as a young kid. I was like a teenager, and I remember asking my dad, why are they calling for Robson to go? Like, he's a god, isn't he? Like, he's a letter. And my dad was like, the idiots, whatever. And then it happened, and I was like, oh no. And then it was years of crap. And Keegan, again, when Keegan went and Dalglish came in, it was crap. Even though actually Dalglish finished second, didn't he? But he got to a final. I guess you could hide behind stats with Dalglish, but with not many manager changes in Newcastle, when you replace an icon, whether people like it or not, how obviously is an icon, in terms of like he's won a trophy, that first one, which other people couldn't do, but difficult. Connor's put a great super chat in there, but I hope he's wrong. With summer prep being disrupted again would be a disaster for the infrastructure of the club.
Yeah, I think he's completely right. World Cup, summer prep will be disrupted, but I think that is another reason to start prepping now. And I've argued it for the last month or two. I already think PIF know exactly what they're doing, and I think that's a reason why we haven't been backed. Eddie hasn't been backed in this window. Kieran Maguire, financial expert around the area. Obviously, you take what these people say with a bit of pinch of salt. But he was saying, Newcastle could realistically spend about 200 million and still be okay. Now, I'm not 100% sure that the figure is quite right, but it's one of those where you're looking at it and going, well, actually, we've just sold these out. There probably is a war chest there. But I do just want to get into some questions that were popped in before we finish up, somewhere we've only got about 5 left. Gary, Geordie, Yam Yam. Do other coaches see St. James's Park as a fortress now? My personal opinion is no, but we'll go around. Kev, you start. What do you think?
Not as much as it was, but I think our home record's still good enough where people come here and think if the fans are on it and the team are on it, it's a tough place. Maybe not as much as they used to, but I'd probably say yes. Although I don't think many people want to come to St. James's to play.
Nah, absolutely. Well, good. Bogey?
I think it still is a fortress, but I just think teams think at the minute they can get something from her, especially if they go ahead against her. So, yes, you wouldn't want to come here and like have the sound of the fans, but I don't think it's quite the fortress on the pitch, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What about you, Roy?
Yeah, I still think it is. I mean, there's a bit quiet. It's not as loud as it used to be, but it's still a fortress. Unlucky against Liverpool, we beat City. We only lost to Arsenal and Villa.
Both chances for a
That's
title.
it. Yep. And the top, so it's first and third, and we beat the team in second. Did we draw any games? No, I think we won all the other games.
We probably have.
No. Spurs and Chelsea.
Yeah.
So
we should have won them, shouldn't we? Looking back, Jesus.
We should have won both of them as well.
A couple of missed opportunities in there, unfortunately.
So I think those two, it's 4 points dropped against those. It was probably worse than yesterday's game. It hurts more.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, them two hurt more, definitely, because
super chat in there, was once again. Thank you very much, buddy. PIF need to get wise and get the best lawyers in. Yeah, let's just say screw everything.
Yeah, just break all the
Premier League. Screw everyone. We're going to buy whatever. We're going to do whatever. And we're going to be Newcastle United, the fortress, and build it up. The Wembley of the North. Let's. I'd
imagine Talk Sport and Sky.
Oh, we'd be attacked. We'd be all over us. You know what? We almost need something like that. Not like unite us. We're quite sensible, but like some of the people who sit behind me in the game. The only thing which is going to unite them again, because they're a little bit bored of where we're at, is like something like that. That's going to get the fans like united again. It sounds stupid, but like could be an unbelievable business. Well, actually, terrible business move in terms of business sense, but from a fan's point of view, which is not a business move, I guess, would be a great move. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
100%. And then on to the next question. Does Villa show that with the right manager and the right recruitment, you can compete? Now, I'm just going to add quickly in there, in Unai Emery's first game, there was Leon Bailey, Ollie Watkins, Emi Buendia, Douglas Luiz, Jacob Ramsey, Ezri Konsa, Matty Cash and Martinez.
That squad. Whoa.
Yeah, in Eddie Howe's start, and I'm not going to go through. I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to go through the terrible players.
That's enough to say. Just say Kieran Clark. That's enough.
But it was Maxey, Wilson, Joe Linton, Murphy, Shelby, Willock. So there is a bit of Shaw in there.
Not with Joe Linton we know now, though. Not with Shaw we know now.
No, absolutely not. So I think it's one of those. He definitely inherited a much better squad. There was a lot more that could be sold to be brought in, and I've actually seen Villa fans criticising their last 12 transfers, saying that they were all pretty much flops. Now, there was a few in there I didn't agree with personally, but I'm not going to harper on about that too much. We got another super chat in there. Tony T, once again, £5. Thank you very much, buddy. Many average managers have won the League Cup. Even McLaren won it. Aren't we like fifth for spending in the last 4 years? Let's not colonise yet. Gravy. I think, to be fair, part of that goes to...
In the last 4 years? Surely not. The last 4 years, we have a fifth... Surely not. We didn't spend for
net
2 years. Oh, net spend. Yeah, we've got no sell last, so do we?
Yeah, net.
Sold Isaac.
You inherited 12 years of crap, pretty much.
Yeah, so I think that is the case again. Obviously, we spent a lot because there wasn't much there to inherit at all, if I'm completely honest. But I do completely agree. Many average managers have won the League Cup, but not that many in recent memory. It's been dominated by the bigger teams recently. Newcastle obviously stopped that rot, like Palace did with the FA Cup as well. NUFC Truth in with another question as well there. Using fear of a change of manager is just fear of becoming a top club. If we hired Thomas Tuchel, would you have the same fears? So would you be worried about Newcastle going forward if Tommy Tuchel took charge?
Kev? If it was money, no. But I don't know. I kind of wish in a way, and it's impossible to ever know, but do you know if the Isaac thing didn't happen and we just had a little bit of, we just need a calm summer. Newcastle's a chaos club, and it's always chaos. Just a calm summer with Isaac staying. I'd love to it's impossible to know, but yeah, to answer the question, I think if Tuchel came in the not that this would come out because he would get overcharged. We've got 500 million to spend, and Tuchel's going to bring in like world-class players. I'd be like a little bit less scared. But if Tuchel's coming in having to work with this current squad, I'd be petrified because I don't know if Tuchel can. Again, I don't know how good these players really are, other than maybe Bruno, Toon Army. I'll give him. I don't know how good the rest genuinely are. I don't know if we're overachieving or not, because every time I've seen these players have been pretty poor. Previous clubs and before us, I love them. Now they're at us. I'm not being disrespectful, trying not to be, but yeah, I'd absolutely crap myself if Tuchel came in with no money.
What about you, Bogey? Would you be happy with Tommy T?
I'd be quite happy with Tommy T. I think that could be what happens in the summer. You might end up with Howe going to England and Tuchel coming to Newcastle. And is that a win-win for everybody?
What about you, Roy? You'd be happy with Tommy Tuchel?
Yeah. I think he'll be okay with 4 or 5 of those players, but he's going to need a war chest.
He's going to need a lot of money to get anywhere where
he's going to need one anyways, really, with the number of players leaving out.
He's going to be ruthless with about 4 or 5 of them to get rid of them straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Tony T with a comment rather than a super chat. Sorry I didn't get to that earlier, buddy. In 2022-23, we had 5 losses all season. We've now become easy to beat. Now add off we can't finish teams. We're not winning enough either. Recipe for disaster. I completely agree, to be honest. I think it's one of those where going into games against like PSG and stuff like that, when you can't finish your dinner, it does make you... it's something really concerning. So I think based on that, I think we've had a good chat about what we can do. Sort of at the end of the day, we're here to answer the question of can we handle 2 games in a week? We've kind of gone elsewhere as well. The answer to that was effectively no. We've spoke about some pretty good topics since. If you haven't checked it, go check back to earlier parts in the episode. We're gonna jump off now. Remember, if you're not already, subscribe, get join in the chat, become a member, and you can check out all the great content we've got coming up. It's not just me and my pretty face, obviously. There's a lot more good stuff coming, and it's always the better stuff that doesn't involve me. But thank you very much, Bogey, Roy, and Kev, for joining me today. Thanks to everyone in the chat who's been paying attention and chatting along with us. It's been fantastic speaking to you. I've been nervous as it comes hosting. Hope you have enjoyed. But for now, it's goodbye.
With the lads and lasses.
And parents.
The time is now.